Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are going to have a lot of fun. Comedy, UFOs, cryptids, and probably a lot of laughs as comedian and radio entertainer Ed Tyll is our guest. We call him Little Eddie Tyll around these parts, so make sure that in the chat room you type in, "Hey, Little Eddie Tyll, how you doing? Welcome to SOR." We're going to have a great, fun show with him tonight. Robin Haynes will be in hour 3, and the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Amy in the silver, and B taking home a bronze medal tonight. Kitty Cattywag, how you doing? Paramarv is here. How you doing, buddy? Roswell Alien, nice to see you. Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because Ed Tyll literally said, I am not coming on until Mel WD40 lubes me up. So Mel is lubing up Ed as we speak, and Ed is going to be glistening with laughter. Glistening. We've never used the word glistening on this show before. We just did. Attorney at Large, Michael Morris, how are you? Jerence Carter is here. Jerence Carter will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Necessary Dialogue, Benno, both of you, how you doing? Mama Catherine is here. Mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you enjoy tonight's show. I hope you get a few good laughs in as well, because this is going to be a fun one. I love you, my dear. Flat Six, how you doing? Nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Up next on our list, well, let's take a little look-see here. We have Operation Shutdown. We have Road Flare. We have Stargazer. And we have Thomas Rock. Thank you all for joining us tonight. As I know this is going to pop right in. This show is going to get a lot of people tonight. I just have a feeling. All right. Up next, Tim Mothman and his goatee, 2 separate entities. In the studio is here. In the studio, we'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Scrolling on down, we say hello to Undead Jed. How are you tonight? Digger Dog, good to see you. As roll call continues with Michael Gutierrez. How's it going, my friend? Nice to have you here. And we keep on scrolling. We're just scrolling now. Signs of Life, super crazy. Nice to have you both here. Erica Stover is here. Give her a wave. She always waves back. And Algaray over on Twitch. This guy's pumped up for Ed tonight. He literally did 4,500 triceps extensions in 3 minutes and 48 seconds. He's jacked for tonight while he's flexing in front of the mirror to make sure he's looking good. Dirty Filth is in the chat room. How you doing there? Hello, Dirty. There you go. Hello, Dirty. Emperor Penguin, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call here. And scrolling on down, Creepy Pasta. How's it going? I'm Hardcore. Good to have you here on X, listening on in. And Nelson R., nice to see you. Shelly Heaton, thank you for coming on in. Deborah Rooney, where have you been, my Sacramento treat? Where have you been hiding? And let's see here. Who else? Aussie Boss Tiger, Matthew Goodka, nice to have you both here. Let's get the radio and podcast side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have one hell of a good show tonight. Comedian, radio entertainer Ed Tyll is here with us, and we're going to talk about, literally, he knows nothing about UFOs. He knows nothing about cryptids, knows nothing about ghosts, but he loves these topics, and we're going to talk about them tonight with Ed. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are in roll call on our YouTube side right now, and in the studio says, he will only sign in gold Sharpie. The autographs only in gold Sharpie. So, make sure you're ready for that. East Coast Turnaround on X, thank you for listening in tonight. We appreciate you. We're caught up on the roll call side. So I want to remind all of you, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. You can also join our YouTube membership. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our clothing in public and actually be proud to wear it. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show coming up for you tonight. Comedian, radio star Ed Tyll is with us as we are going to talk all things UFO, cryptids, and everything. He's a skeptic. He doesn't know what to think about this topic, but we're going to have fun with him tonight. Nonetheless, I guarantee you will at least laugh once. And if not, it will be a hearty chortle. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us with another creepy story. Follow that up with Robin Haynes, who will be here for the Q&A. So if you're in our chat rooms, get your questions ready for hour number 3. So let's get right to it tonight. Ed Tyll is a veteran comedian and nationally recognized radio host for his fearless humor, sharp commentary, and completely unpredictable style on the air. Never mind the fact that he has beautiful hair. Yeah, Brill cream all over the place. We are going to get to that in a moment. With decades of experience behind the microphone, Eddie has built his reputation by storytelling into a fast-paced, high-energy performance that keeps audiences engaged from first word to the last until he signs off. His work spans stand-up comedy, talk radio, podcasting, and live stage appearances. He's always driven by his trademark mix of satire, insight, and unfiltered personality. Ed continues to entertain and provoke thought through digital broadcasting, live comedy, and his ongoing work in independent media. Whether he's breaking down the absurdity of everyday life or tackling controversial topics with humor and honesty, Ed tries to bring a unique voice that resonates with the fans looking for something real, raw, and refreshingly unpredictable, which is why we have him on Spaced Out Radio tonight. EdTyll.com is his website. Mr. Ed Tyll, little Eddie Tyll, nice to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Wonderful. Dave, I can't tell you how happy I am to be on the show to, as you say, talk about something I know nothing about, have been littered with misconceptions, But every time that I would be hosting Walter's Sterling every damn night, you and I would delve into these questions. So thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
And the reason why I wanted to bring you on is because let's introduce that. So our audience may not know who you are. They may not, and your audience listening in may not know who I am.
Right.
But we met through the Walter M. Sterling Every Damn Night show, which is on WPHT in Philadelphia. I do a nightly hit, and sometimes you fill in for Walter and just kind of hang out. And, we got to talking. You've interviewed me a few times on the show now, and it's been nothing but a blast. And I thought,
I told you, I have a life shattering, earth shattering experience that was told to me, and it was so specific. And the person who told it to me is so reliable, a lifelong friend, a broadcaster who's a household name in maybe half the country, maybe the entire country by now. Very well-known guy, morning show, big deal. And we were on my show once upon a time when he was doing evenings, visiting on my earlier in the day show. And out of nowhere, he describes in detail how a space ship, for want of this sounds terrible to say, but a small spaceship, flying saucer, if you will, showed up above the car where his brother, mom's driving, the other brother and him, all three people looking at this thing. It centers on them, hovers, then she doesn't stop. It's a roadway, so she's looking and driving. It follows them. So the kids are now looking out the back windshield to hold eye contact with the saucer, my friend eyeballing the saucer. So all together, we're talking minutes are going by, not seconds. So he says to me, Ed, I don't know, how do I know what that was? I have no idea what it was, but whatever it was happened big time. Up until then, all I had experienced was a chuckle, occasionally with Art Bell, late at night, driving across America. And it was so entertaining. A guy would be already had gone up there or had seen them or had been probed. And now and this friend of mine is still a credible individual, has not changed an inch on the story. So I would be foolish if I said I had no evidence. That's a testimony that you're never going to get, in my opinion, less corrupted. That's uncorrupted testimony. Go ahead. What do you think of that, Dave? Shouldn't I?
I think it's a true story. I've heard that story before from numerous people. And the question is it UFO? Is it alien? Or is it something of an American type hidden technology that likes to?
Well, I love to go with that. That is the safest that Lee Harvey Oswald did it. It's just, you want to go with, well, the government's not going to tell me that they're testing a thing that can follow a car. And they probably had to let us, I think of the cars when they develop a brand new car and they don't want you to see it on the road, they put all those patches on it. And do you know about this technique? It's a test car, but it's not what you can't photograph it, whatever it is you can't do. So I get this idea of you need to test it, but I always thought this was the story of the original Area 51. This is going to be the government doing something where they thought no one would see it, or it went awry. But crossing over that other beings would be visiting is so extraordinary. How can you not, if you don't entertain that possibility, you're not playing with Galileo. You got to play with the Galileo guys, right? You got to go with, I'm certain about this. Other people will figure it out. I'm certainly not certain. Undeniable, credible testimony.
As I was told, Ed, by a couple of different sources who worked in alphabet agencies, and one worked at a secret base, maybe north of Las Vegas in the desert somewhere. Okay. We don't know what we have. And they hide it in plain sight because the easiest place to hide something is right in front of your eyes,
Sure.
because you're not looking for it. You're too busy looking at your phone. You're too busy watching when your transportation is going to arrive. If you take public transit, or you're too busy worried about what's going to happen at work today,
Right.
or I got to get home to make dinner for the kids, or I got to get the kids off to hockey or football.
Right.
We don't talk soccer around here. I'm allergic to it.
Oh,
So-
so no soccer allowed. Soccer free zone.
Yeah, we're a soccer free zone here. But, it's right in front of you. And the thing is, we're so used to recognizing what we know, we no longer pay attention to what we don't know anymore.
We're having a conversation that I've had for 25 years with a good friend and a comedian buddy. But in addition to being a comedian, Dave, he's a math genius. He just wrote a math paper, and he works on all the unsolvable math problems. In addition to he does a lot of consulting, but he's just a math guy. And he is so attuned to these alphabet agencies, what they do, what he discovers. He's not a journalist, but he'll come across a document and he'll have the patience to read 8,100 pages. And it's pretty impressive what he finds. So this idea of what we think is going on, it's very tricky, because I am certainly believe in the American way of government and government in the open. We're a republic, though. We're not at the city council there with the whole town voting on a fire hydrant. So in order to run a big country like ours, you're absolutely not going to see everything in the warehouse. And then if you want agencies that defend you and maybe do other things, they can't let you know things that are plain as day. You said it before. If you want to hide, they used to say years ago when I was young, you go to New York City. You just go into the middle of Manhattan, they'll never find you. You'd be in the crowd. Now we have much better surveillance than 30 years ago. Probably they can find you right in today's world. But the idea of plain sight hiding, been around. I agree with that theory.
You are somebody who has made a lot of money in the entertainment industry. You're driving around in Ferraris and Bentleys and all sorts of, your 47,000 square foot mansion in Florida,
Later on, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you, from an outsider's perspective, what do you like about the subjects that we cover here?
Well, there's a tendency in my lifetime in philosophy, sociology, journalism, just across the board, of driving self-absorption, which exaggerates us. And I mentioned Galileo before, this whole thing about, what you're looking at out there, what you see, the sun, the planets. I think it's keenly important to recapture the feeling of 1969, when I'm a kid and I'm doing my summer project on the moonwalk, and I'm cutting out pictures, I'm putting it up there, because at that point we are thinking larger. Now we've shrunken in so much with you mentioned before, the faces pointed at the phone. It's so emblematic that we've become navel gazing to the nth degree. So that's why this world is especially important and interesting. It's interesting because, of course, you have a lot of these imaginary images from film and fiction, but in truth, whatever is out there could be more and more important to us now than ever before. Rare earth minerals, etc. So we should be looking at it differently. I don't think we are. Today I drove by, yesterday I should say, I drove today also, Patrick Space Force Base is not too far from where I'm sitting tonight.
Nice.
So we're Space Force now. So at least we're there with the military, which does come back to the point before. There can be so many things now that if you said to me, oh, it's a big hush-hush project for the military, outer space, what am I going to say on my couch? I'm like, all right, is it working? Yes. Does the experiment work? But I would assume they're going on all the time. So we're probably searching really well for these things that are out there at that level, realizing what they would mean. I don't know if they're going to come in front of a TV camera and hold a news conference, but certainly if you're sitting around with JD Vance and Hegseth and all these guys, and there's any hint, they're going to be looking for the report. What are you finding? And so I don't think we're going to be not looking, but you and I don't know how long it takes to filter out to you and I as ordinary enthusiasts, right?
How do you think that little Eddie Tyll would react to having an encounter, whether it's with a UFO or let's say you're coming out of the shower one day and you see a shadow being walk across your bedroom?
Well, I hope they send a she. If they would send a she, we'll work something out with whatever this other world is, I'm sure. If they send a dude, it's going to be a proposal. It's going to be world domination. He's going to be like the Emperor Ming. Once upon a time, when I think I watched Buck Rogers when I was a kid, and they used to encounter the Emperor Ming. William Shatner ran into Ricardo Montalban. If it's dudes, it's not going to work. I mean, I've seen the movie, but if it really is like some hot babe and she's got a towel for me, and yet she's from another planet, but she likes Miles Davis, and we're sitting there having a little meal and talking about planets and the world, and I see, possibilities at least. How does that sound to you? Do I sound like I'm on to something here? What?
No, I think you're dodging the question, to be blunt. I think you'd be scared crapless.
Oh, no, what I said, if it's a guy, we're probably going to have an argument. If it's a woman, maybe we could get along. So what am I not getting? It's an alien. I'm naked. What are you going to do? You're not putting an animal alien, are you? I'm not going to be able to. You're going to meet a male. What do you, when you say alien, do you think in terms of male, female, or you think when you are?
No, I think more of the species, because I haven't had the lucky stars yet to run into these beautiful, tall, blonde Nordic beings that seem to come to everybody else but me, because they only let me up to a certain level, and then I don't get the good looking level, if you know what I'm talking about.
That's not good. Let me, I got too much headroom there, right? There we go. Thanks. So, did I dodge? I mean, I'd be terrified. You want me to go that way? I would still be looking to see if there was a shot at this is a girl, but if it's clearly not a thing, I'd be terrified. But I wouldn't panic if the thing is already here. Like in a mafia movie, if they haven't shot you already, then you know what I mean. They probably want to talk to you. If it was an alien who was super powerful and waited for me to get out of the shower, I guess I'd be impressed with that. But I would try to communicate. I would hope it had eyes that I could look at. But I don't know. This is does that sound more candid than?
It sounds more truthful.
Oh, good. All right. I would never lie about this. It's never happened, so I had to give you a hypothetical. Yes.
Well, I'm gonna tell Walter that you were BSing on my show.
Yes. Well, he's familiar with that, I'm sure. I've BS'd on his show a great deal. No, you know what? BSing is good. I'm so glad you mentioned that phrase. The other day, my friend got all impatient about hanging out and shooting the breeze. Isn't shooting the breeze the same as shooting the bull? I happen to like that, where it doesn't have to be about anything, but you have an interest, you have a complex thought, right? It's not as welcome as it used to be, but I welcome it, don't you, when people do it with you?
I think it's more comfortable.
There you go. Wow. Thank you. All right, well, now that I'm back on track, hit me with your next question.
We have 4.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, comedian and radio host Ed Tyll is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Ed, the one thing that I've noticed in the times that you've interviewed me, on Sterling every damn night is and I can appreciate this, and I'm going to assume it's your not only your professionalism but your human curiosity to it. You've never looked down on me when we've talked about these subjects. Like I've literally had hosts. I'm not going to mention whom, okay, but I've literally had hosts that have filled in for Walter that I've said, yeah, I'm not doing it with that guy again, right?
What
It's
is
only
it? Right. The anti-enthusiasts of the world.
where you kind of make you feel, oh, I got to talk to
Anti-enthusiasts,
this
right.
guy. I got to talk to this guy. Really, like, I don't really want to. So,
Okay, yeah.
so yeah,
They're probably too busy solving the world's problems and not doing that good of jobs last time I checked. Look, I don't want to be too hard on anyone because if they have some strong reason that's not articulated, it can be difficult. It can be exactly as you describe it. Sometimes they're coping with it, and in an awkward way, you and I might bear the brunt of their coping when you would think they would brunt themselves, right? If there's a problem, take it on yourself, but they'll project it out, and you and I are not really what they're talking about, but in the moment, it's all poo-poo anything except the things they thought of. This is sad, even when it's not on the air. I've had this at the Thanksgiving Day table, at the Christmas table over the years. What do you do at this point in our lives? You and I know so much about so many things, right? We gather, we digest, and then we somehow extract wisdom at a later date. Oh my God, I was thinking about that. Now it turns out so for those people that behave that way, right? And we don't know if they always do, but it's kind of extreme in the moment where you're like, wow, I don't even want to talk to him again. There is a little something there to feel bad for them, because they're missing the entire experience that we're trying to share with them. And I've learned that's the key in life. It's not enforcing your beliefs on someone else. It's really looking hard at where somebody's coming from at the moment and they're trying to convey to you. There can be a lot of value in there that's not apparent. The personality that you're describing is, I believe the word eschewing all of that, just, pushing it aside, losing all the value, and then coming up with this thin, impossible, contrarian thing.
we've never had the word eschewing in 11 years on this show. So I appreciate you adding to the vocabulary about
Rule it in.
No, but and I don't make the comment that I did, about the other host being bad or anything like that, because everybody has their niche. That's the beautiful part of radio, and my topics are not everyone else's niches, and I get that. But you seem to have, this curiosity about it. We got about a minute to go. What about these subjects makes you curious?
Well, now you're really that's my big thing is curiosity, right? Like even when I was a teenager and we were in English class, we were in ancient civilization. It was all about Socrates, right? And Socratic method. And he got in big trouble because he would ask all these tough questions, and then he made him so unpopular that he put him on trial for asking tough questions, and then all throughout history, you see that those people are the prime movers, yet they take a lot of flack and awful outcomes. So I'll keep it under a minute to just answer you directly. I'm compelled to join in with that. I love that, asking questions that seem to be very important. This is one of them. Your subject matter, extremely important.
Ed Tyll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a good time with Ed as we get ready for the second half hour of the show. Ed is a comedian. He's a radio personality right across the United States. And, of course, he is more funny than many people out there who claim to be funny. Spaced Out Radio continues.
Excellent, Dave.
All right, we're clear. We got 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
Beautiful.
That was
See
a
you
good
back
start.
here. Yeah, no, it was so much fun. I'll be right back.
Yeah. That's little Eddie Tyll, everybody. Hey, Mr. Cowley, how you doing? Hey, Fast Hemi, first off, you get a birthday hat tip. Yeah, not everybody gets that, but you've been here long enough, you get a birthday hat tip. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Fast Hemi. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, the snapping didn't really do wonders for me. I tried to add it, thought it might add something, but apparently it didn't. Fast Hemi, everybody. Happy birthday, buddy. Benolicious, how you doing? Hillbilly Herb, how are you tonight? Corey Cole, a.k.a. Boondock, how you doing, my friend? Weird. Did you see his camera just kind of lose all lighting? That was weird. I wonder if he turned the light on. Oh, there, the light's back on now. That was weird.
Excuse me.
Adventures with Beth. How are you, Beth Rooney?
I'm sorry?
Just talking to my audience. Hey, did you mess with the lights?
They went off, and I put them back on when I stepped away. Yeah.
You sure you don't got any ghosts happening?
Right. Well, this is another firsthand experience. This one was, pardon me, in Pittsburgh, so we could talk about it on the show. But
let's wait. Hold on to that for about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold on to that for 2.5, and then we'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying this, man. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, good. Same here. Yeah, I'm having a blast. I enjoy it. It's a very interesting subject, but I think you were saying this before. A part of the attraction, I think, is the enthusiasm for the curiosity. There's a lot of room for curiosity here, and curious people. I was talking about my friend before. That's why he's a math genius. He's got this crazy curiosity with these insolvable problems. And it took two of them to write a paper just going after it. It's exciting. It's extraordinary. Yeah. So this is in that realm, I feel, going after really big stuff.
No, it's a good time, man. I've had some weird things happen in this studio during the time. Wow. I've had shadow people show up. I've had like little orbs flying by me. I once, right here, you can see the edge of it here. I have a Canadian flag that's blocking my window, right? And one day there was somebody had a flashlight outside my window, and I silently snuck outside and went up there to see if there was anybody there, and there was not a soul in my area. And when I came back into the studio, the friggin' light was going back and forth again. Oh man!
I would have been here hundreds of miles away in no time. Yeah, I would have been like a scrambled egg, man.
Yeah. Every now and again, I think the last time it happened, my audience watched an orb come flying right here and fly straight through the camera. Right? Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah.
No, I never have any time missing. I've never had missing time. That one kind of scares me.
What's missing time?
When people vanish.
It jumps forward. You look up at the clock and it's a couple hours later.
Yeah. Like your friend who had the UFO missing or following them. Right. A lot of times people will have missing time with that, where they'll look at the clock, say it's happening at 8:45, and the next thing they know, they're 70 miles away, and it's 2.5 hours later.
Well,
Yeah.
and if that's happening, do you think it's possible within the laws of physics, whatever, to do the transporter thing from
Oh,
Star
yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. We're coming back in like 8 seconds.
Trek?
Super chat is open. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up. Don't forget to do so if you haven't. Here we go. We're into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in. As our guest, comedian and radio personality Ed Tyll is with us here. We'll bring him in momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free. Go to YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Ed Tyll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's not a UFO guy. He's not a cryptid guy, not a paranormal guy. He's a comedian, thinks he's funny. I think he's funny. And you know what? He's interviewed me a number of times, so I'm literally returning the favor. Find out what's kind of going on here in the world. Let me ask you this, Ed. How easy is it to make fun as a comedian of these topics?
Well, all right, easy, because people have a built-in reflex that when the subject comes up, they're waiting for the joke. So you've got this is a lot of what they call built-in evergreens, right, in the category of humor. You know, you got the space alien, you got the probe. You know, everybody has a version of the first time someone talked about this. To Johnny Carson, Merv Griffin, David Letterman, you know, the guys now, everybody remembers the first time they heard such a story that they would come down and they would go to right away taking off your clothes and getting jiggy with you. Like right off. I mean, you would think that, how about some toenail samples? You know, now we're going right to interstellar intercourse. And you go, oh, wow, this is sexy in a way. This is dangerous. Like when King Kong, you know, takes the woman, he's up there on the thing. You know, what's going on? Is Kong in love? The same way with the space aliens. Start to think when everybody's getting probed and they love to tell you, they can tell you all about it, right? You say, well, you know, was it at all mutual? So you're saying zero mutuality? You know what I mean? I mean, correct. So all of that to me loads up the subject. The subject is a winner, Dave, and right? Yeah, it's all fun and games until you get probed, until you're getting quadra probed, right? The whole team is probing you, and they got more than one hand, more than one arm. Okay, so who's going to turn this off? If I said that this is what we're talking about tonight, or this is what we're about to show you in a documentary, people go wild. So I feel it's a very interesting, compelling subject for that. Your word before, plethora of features. And by the way, I dated plethora. Her sister dances a little bit, but she makes the best conversation of the two sisters.
Well, just to, you know, get you a little bit at ease, Ed, in case you ever do get probed, is we do have a Spaced Out Radio shirt that says it doesn't have to hurt. You can get alien lube at our store.
Wow.
Right there.
So reassuring.
You know,
I can't tell you how reassuring that is now. If the worst should happen, we would at least have a product, some merch from your show involved. That, you know, with the news coverage, they would find the tube right there.
But you know, on a serious note, though,
yes.
The majority of people, and I've described this on the show, and a lot of people have you know, kind of said, Dave, you shouldn't speak like that, but I'm going to. Okay. because a lot of people look at those of us who've had UFO or ET contact, and we all fall under the same category, which means we work the nighttime shift at a convenience store.
Oh,
Okay. We don't have a dental plan. We've never made more than minimum wage. We believe in all sorts of conspiracy theories that everyone is true. Usually there is a bayou around. Okay.
yeah.
And, you probably have cousins that are married somewhere. Okay. And that's really the concept of a lot of people when they think of alien abductions, when they think of UFOs landing in somebody's property,
Yeah.
in Muttlick, Kentucky, or someplace like that. Okay, but that's the image that people have with little green men running around. And
Yeah.
you said anal probes. They don't understand that there is this whole giant piece of science and scientists that are looking at this, that alien abductions has happened to lawyers, it's happened to Walmart employees, it's happened to construction workers, it's happened to doctors. I mean, so how do you find, from your perspective being outsider, how do you find a blend from taking this from a niche reality to where people can actually comprehend that this may be going on and take the subject seriously?
Well, what you might have just described there is what's happened in the last couple of, maybe even 3 or 4 decades, honestly, last 30 or 40 years. Our American population has become so engaged in reporting, number one, just number of reports. And we're diversifying as a population where there are just more folks in the locations that years ago would not have had a lot of folks. Urban sprawl, call it what you will, but that periphery. I'm certain that you dread, like I do, this pollution of light that we have on the perimeter of every major city when you travel now, even when you're in an airliner, but you could be driving up on a big high peak and see that there's like this radiant, effervescent kind of thing coming out. So this could easily make contact happen to the folks that you're saying that are not like the stereotype. The lawyer who's skiing up in a lodge and he's out there by himself all night. He's can't wait to be alone on the slopes, right? He gets there and all of a sudden, boom, he's alone with this reality. Many years ago, I was trained to be a lawyer, and the skill of the law I would practice trial law, is it only matters what you can prove. And there are very strict rules on what is proof. There are a lot of things that look evidentiary and they are not proof. So that's the world I came up in. Also, I love science. I wasn't a science person, but the science that I took seriously in school. My experiments, the way I wrote them up, my data, all of that. So I think that kind of examination that I'm describing there, and that applies to so many other things, I think makes this area that you've been in for a while, makes it very exciting to apply that to this. So I don't see conspiracies everywhere. I see determined inquiry from, as I described my pal before, if they see that it's a dead end, it doesn't hurt their ego to say, look, we're done with this. This will not work. This didn't happen. We're going to switch to that. They don't have the ego investment, right? Because they got that clinical white coat approach, which I love. That's the saving grace of the last 2 centuries,
Right.
Is to hold yourself to some discipline, but you have to have your horizon open. You have to have that
Right.
the intellectual honesty to have a horizon beyond your understanding, right?
One of the things, and you mentioned, the word proof, that's a very sensitive word in our community, because it doesn't matter whether you are having paranormal experiences, whether you run into Bigfoot in the forest, or whether you're having UFO encounters. People are always saying, well, why didn't you take a picture? Why didn't you grab a photo? Because the incidents are usually so fleeting that you don't have time. And by the time your eyes are reading the situation and your brain finally comprehends what's going on, it's over.
Yeah.
It's absolutely over. And so this is a real community of literally, I'm going to say, millions of people. I don't think it's 100,000s anymore. I think it's millions of people who have had a paranormal, supernatural, ufological, or cryptid experience.
Right.
Okay. And if you have millions of people who are talking about this and having the experience of a lifetime, like I will walk down my town and there will be people who will be like, "Do you really believe in this stuff, Dave?" Because they know me as the ghost guy in town. I live in a town of like 2,500 people, man. Okay.
Wow.
And they'll be like, "Do you really believe in that, Bigfoot?" Yeah, I do. And then all of a sudden they'll pause. They'll realize I'm being serious. And then they'll say, "Can I tell you what happened to me? What do you think of this story?" And they'll go on telling me a story about when they were camping one night out in the forest by one of the lakes an hour and a half away here. And they started hearing these blood curdling roars and they packed up their camp in the middle of the night and got the hell out of there. You'll hear those stories. And this is somebody who is just a normal everyday person who wants to make fun of it because that's what society says. But deep down, they have that dark secret that they finally found somebody who they could share it with.
This is, you put your finger right on. That's exactly, I think, what your show does and what started with you and me when I'm hosting for Walter. I think that, right, that's it. You're a gateway guy for outsiders to hear themselves telling it to someone who gets it. But there is, I feel bad for them. Again, there's a bravado of where they don't want to own it until after the experience with you. And then they're going home in the car with Margaret and they're going to be like, you know something? I think he's onto something with that stuff, inevitably. But you're a gateway because, also, I mentioned Art Bell, right? One of the legends. That was a little theatrical. That was a little bit, I don't know how much of that was for my benefit and how much of that was reporting. But I just feel like with you, it's there's an authenticity for a subject that needs it. You need it to talk about a sensitive subject like this. I say sensitive. I mean, it's intellectually sensitive to conceive of this. So I think that's part of what your thing is in this field. You have the personality, you have the accessibility. So I recall that from the first time we spoke. In other words, I had the opposite experience that maybe another host had. I was like, oh man, this is we're gonna have fun with this. So, but I'm very inquisitive. I love to study obscure things, right? For the beauty of the study and what you discover. So this has that written all over it,
If you could ask one question about these fields, what's the a burning question on little Eddie Till's mind regarding all of this?
I think the thing, would I be able to ask this of them or ask of the subject in general?
Either or. We got time for both.
Okay. So of the subject in general, I'd really like to know if maybe the Big Bang is an oversimplification, even when they try to break it down. And maybe that wasn't so much as a beginning as that was a celestial clash. And that could have made them aware of us. That could have been what brought them into being, could have been what we believe brought the rest of the world into being, because it wasn't just our Big Bang. There was a lot more big banging going on. So that would be, at least for me, a point of logic. Now, what I would ask of the alien, if I had the alien, if he's getting ready to probe or something, and we're in the waiting room before the thing, I would say, do we look threatening? do we look like, I would say we are so lost, believe me, we're not a threat to anything, but do you see us as a clumsy, or what do we look like? Because I'm convinced we would make an impression collectively, and that they would stereotype us the same way that we're unfortunately, right, hearing people stereotype all the time. We don't like it. I have a feeling they will stereotype Earth in no time, because they will be much more advanced with the perceptions, the thinking, logic. Everything will hit them quicker. I don't know. That's why both ways, right? It would be fascinating if the Big Bang were related to the other worlds instead.
Do you think then what you've learned through your own information that you've learned through media, that we are being visited by species from another planet or another timeline?
The great logicians of the civilization love to say, everybody loves this, you can't prove a negative, Ed. So I get, how could I possibly deny without proof that it would be impossible? And how could I have proof that it's impossible? So to me, it's easy to accept the reality of its possibility. In other words, the fact that it's possible to me is reality. How could it not be possible? Obviously, it's possible. What was the second half of your question?
Well, do you think that we have been visited?
Oh, right. Well, I haven't seen anything on that. The closest, the Roswell collection, whatever figure was collected off the Earth that night that was out there I don't have anything on that. And that is the closest I've seen to that. Now, could they have landed a craft and taken back off? That's probably more likely than they would crash a craft, because I don't see them making a mistake on the way in. I think on the way in, they're going to be so stealthy because they got us pegged. They know our hearing frequencies. They know every sensory dealio. So they just tweak around it, come in. The military's got something right now where they can hide an object in plain sight. They put a thing on it, and the way you look at it in certain light, you don't know it's there. I think they're so ahead of that. The other thing I think they have is, I think they have that super speed, where if they get seen for a split second, all they do is, push themselves a little bit and they vanish. So they got all of that advantage, if you want to call it that, but let's just say ability to take a close look at us. So I don't see them making mistakes. I understand what's supposed to have happened, and I haven't given up on knowing more about that. I'll always be open to more evidence. I don't know that. The thing I'm always impressed with, we find a lot of the Sasquatch physicality, physical proof. And that does, to me, bump up against, dinosaurs and things that were here such a long time ago, and how a footprint could, by accident of nature, be preserved. It had just the right angle on the rock and it didn't wear away in the wind. You see all these anomalies. So again, I'm open to things that when you show it to me, I'm like, oh my God, we can't deny this now. So that's what I find on the evidentiary side, or what you said before, the difference between proof and evidence. On the proof side, what are you going to do? It's his foot. You have to figure out what made that foot, but you can't deny it's a footprint or a paw or something,
We have 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Ed Tyll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. If you could have your choice, then, would you sooner have an encounter with an alien? Would you sooner have an encounter with a ghost or a Bigfoot?
I guess ghost. If ghost is really gonna take me, do you remember the TV show Topper? It was about a ghost, and it was about the two ghosts that were friendly to the main character, and it was a great show when I was a kid. So if ghosts include human spirits, so my grandfather would be accessible, my parents would be accessible. If that is the, I could, because that again would merge in some kind of religious, ancient, ritualistic attempt at understanding the life beyond the physical, that I wouldn't be ruling that out. So now a ghost that is a strange spirit randomly of the human race or not, that's a little tougher for me. It could be just my own limitations, right? It could just be my own narrow thinking, and I got to step it up a little. But the random and also the malignant, or I shouldn't say the malicious ghost, I never bought that as a kid. If there's a ghost, why would it be angry? Why would it do something bad? It would just as soon, say hi and how. So I don't know. That's what I think. I think in terms of past humans, I think there's a religious outreach from thousands of years ago. They were trying to figure it out. And it would make sense to me that what do they call it? Don't they call it 6 grams or something? Your soul. There's a movie or a book.
Grams.
Thank you. So right there, that's enough for me those grams could be right there. They could be floating around, and because energy could not be created nor destroyed when we were in science class.
Do you think it's fear, though? Not just for you, Ed, but for other people out there who maybe don't want to tempt these topics because of religious beliefs, or just because the idea has scared them, or they saw the movie Fire in the Sky in 1994.
Right.
I mean, just your thoughts on that.
I do. There's no question. I mean, one of the great things about an American dinner table or backyard barbecue is if there's 25 or 30 people, there are definitely going to be a few. They're terrified of this stuff, and they're not going to come out with it and tell everybody that they're scaredy cats, but they really are. So in their household, they are the ones that with the kids are like, oh my God, shut the door. Oh, what was that? I don't know. Yeah. They exhibit this, then I think the normal people say, oh, it's nothing, things happen. And then there's people who have a lot of experience and say, well, there is a little bit of a pattern here if you take a look. So inevitably fear, but there's all kinds of fear there. There's fear that they're going to destroy the world, or there's fear that they're smarter than us. But you're right, there's fear.
And if you get to the Pleiadians and Nordics, better looking too.
Right. Well, back to my original hope that if I'm going to be probed out of the shower, it's, some version of, just Nordic, as you say. Thank you. Yeah, I'll go with Nordic.
Do you think then, and I don't know if you've ever brought this up on your radio show, and you might after tonight, but do you think then that humanity in general would be ready for the president of the United States to come up? It doesn't matter which president it is, come up and say, my fellow Americans, we have found out that we are not alone in this universe and that there is an alien presence.
Well, I mean, it is kind of funny to think of a personality like Trump having to synthesize this announcement and instantly would make a comment. That would be hilarious. There's going to be a lot of panic. I mean, you know how this is, all the way back to, what's his name there, Citizen Kane, with the make-believe they've landed in New Jersey, Orson Welles. All of the biases and stereotypes that we've touched upon would be activated, magnified, and everybody who already was predisposed to be scared would jump and run and swim. I mean, it would be funny watching people saying, look, they're here. What are you going to do? I mean, our electric is on. The game is on. We're watching football and they're here. Okay. So that's how I would look for, all right, the game is on. And, okay, all right, they're here. We'll find out what they have to, what do they eat? If they eat, they could, if we could make a friend, I'm not being facetious at all. If we made a friend at all, how easily, I got to wrap it up. On the other side, I'll tell you.
Comedian, radio personality, Ed Tyll is with us. on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to find out if Eddie's got aliens and more in hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. See, Mama Catherine posted on the screen there. Little Eddie's has aliens.
Well, I'm having a blast. I'm going to get another beverage. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'm just going to put you in the green room, okay?
Okay.
Be right back, everybody. I am back. We having fun tonight, guys? All right, let's bring back Ed. We got about 90 seconds, brother.
Got it.
You having fun?
Having a blast. I mean, you're doing all the work. I love this. Being a guest is a favorite thing of mine going way, way back because I love being on your side. I love asking, but I love somebody asking me questions. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying this, my man.
You know what this is like, honestly? I used to love college because those professors were willing to drill down on your idea in the moment, like just go with it. And that's what I feel like this is tonight, right?
Just going with the flow, my man.
It is, my man. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
2,500 people, huh? That was my second radio job was 2,500 people, Logan, Utah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful little studio in my house here.
I know, man. Nice decor. What do you got going up there in the thing behind you with the orange thing exploding?
It's actually red. My screen doesn't project it very nice onto my camera. It's a Canadian flag.
What are we looking at in the middle?
In front of
a black cat?
Where?
In the center of that.
No, that's my logo.
Oh, that's your show logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
I got to get a better TV for that. All right, we're coming back here in 5 seconds.
Ready.
And don't forget to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, we'd appreciate it. Here we go. We are into hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. Hope you got your tin foil on. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the captain of this weird ship that we talk to you nightly about the strangeness going on in the world. Our guest tonight, comedian and radio broadcaster Ed Tyll, is with us. We'll get to Ed momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ologomancy. Ologomancy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest tonight. He is a comedian. He is a radio personality, been a broadcaster for years, has great hair. Ed Tyll is his name, and we're hanging on out, talking about the strange topics that he never gets to talk about. And he's interviewed me a number of times on WPHT 1210 on the radio show Sterling Every Damn Night. So I figured it's time to return the favor. I'm going to be in the captain's chair. He's going to be on the hot seat. And we got the jury, which is you, the audience, trying to figure out if Ed's going to believe us or not that this phenomena is real. Ed, welcome back.
Pleasure to be back with you guys, and love the subject. And I'm thinking while you were recapping there, how long ago did I first hear about it? Where was I when I first heard of the concept? Now, I was raised with the movies. So my living room, the black and white television, 13-incher with the rabbit ears, that was an after-school thing where a friend of mine would know whenever these movies were on. And, you know, the classics with the guy coming down, the robot comes off and he talks to the town. Then everybody turns on the robot. You know these titles better than me. These are the 1950s era classic space alien type movies. So, as you know, those movies walked a very fine line to whether the robot or the alien was bad. And in many cases, they had great human dimension, and the filmmaker was really trying to build, you know, a little understanding and maybe not be so primitive about it. But my take as a kid was that a lot of my fellow kids were a little scared. I mean, it was the fun to be scared kind of film. Oh, wow, they're coming down. They're going to get it. Now, guffawed all of that. There's a word for the day, right? With plethora and all these other good words. I guffawed. It was a real guffaw. I was a kind of a condescending, snotty little kid about everybody else is buying into the film. And I'm like, oh, come on. This isn't a real alien. It's a film. So to me, it remained an open subject, but not because I deliberately was open-minded. It was because I couldn't buy what was on. I mean, they were human actors with silver paint and a helmet. So, I immediately didn't take the flight of fancy. And if you would have asked me under oath as a 10-year-old, do you think that's what a space alien was? I would have said, no way. That's a movie. That's silly. So there you go. My foundation on the subject open. But again, I just think the era, I was born in the 50s, okay? The minds were wide open in 1960. Now, I'm not trying to say minds were virtuous. I'm not, right? Two different things. Who's virtuous? But because people did a lot of bad things in that era that are now horrible. But overall, the world I came into as a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, television in front of me, watching how adults were. This was open-minded city, man. My dad was a Republican. My mom was a liberal, and they got along just fine. They went to the same church. There was it was open. Things were wide open thinking, even economic theory. No, in other words, you're talking beatniks, not even hippies, talking beatnik era, where just people are throwing stuff out and having a new spin on it. It's okay. That's okay. All right. They would always say, live and let live. If that's your true belief, that's part of America. You should live it out. So that set me up very well, I believe. I was a very lucky resultant kid when, if I would have missed it by 5 or 10 years, there was maybe not that moment. I feel music is that way, culture is. I caught a moment by birth date. I also didn't qualify for Vietnam. That's a crazy thing by 1 year. I mean, it was a conveyor belt to these poor guys getting eaten up, insane. No one wanted the war. And all of a sudden we jumped. So something about that also, my education was very demanding. It wasn't the most expensive one at all, but it was demanding. So we had nuns and we had thick books in 6th grade that hurt your arm to get them home, and got through all of them. And even in college, I had these priests that were insane about their subject matter. And me and 2 other kids would be into it. The other 27, this guy's a psycho. I'm never taking that class again. But there was only 3 of us who were like, we're going for the ride with this guy. He's a lunatic, but he's smart. So that, I think, is very old school, what I'm describing. I mean, it should have a violin, right? But it was a strong foundation for the unknown. This is an era I'm describing where science is revered, not handicapped like a football game. I don't want to ask my uncle what we should be doing with the future of anything on planet Earth, okay? He's going to just tell you what he wants. He's not going to do what's right. So there was a thing back then, NASA was magical. Things were happening. Human beings were in places they had never been before. And by the time I'm on the radio, everybody's talking about the moon landing is fake. I mean, it didn't take long to just go, oh, what are you kidding? So this is what I think makes for my attitude toward what you said before, that whole list of things. He doesn't talk about it. He's always this. Even though I don't traffic in this, I love trafficking in this kind of study. Study to me is very exciting, especially with other people who have energy for the study, right?
There is plenty of evidence right now that shows that the United States government, the military, and the private contractors seem to be holding on to some sort of extraterrestrial technology and potentially even bodies. there are people who have made claims that they have seen them. And these are people from government officials. A lot of them came out in the new documentary, The Age of Disclosure, that was released a couple of weeks ago. If the American public ever picked up on this and took this subject seriously, what do you think would happen if all of a sudden people started waking up to the fact that the government does have some sort of extraterrestrial secret?
The best thing that right off the bat was it would replace the Epstein files. The second thing is it would once and for all, right, validate so much suspicion that you could have a release of pressure. They finally, I knew it all, again, my uncle, I don't mean to be using my uncle, but he's going to say, I told you, what are you talking? You think I didn't know that? Oh, so everybody else knows now, huh? Okay, good. Can you pass the potatoes? Because I told you this 35 years ago at this table. So that is important in a society like ours, an open society that, not to ask you a question, turn it around, but you can understand the dilemma in what you're asking me, but I might ask someone if they even believe, I was going to say just a second ago, it's great to release the pressure in a society that prides itself on consent. And, I know what's going on, and you're supposed to tell me. That's the bargain in American society, certainly. First Amendment is supposed to check and balance the government deliberately. But unfortunately, my surmise of this is there will always be people who will exploit reasonable doubt. A lot of criminals, a lot of things happen in this world because there's not reasonable doubt to put someone in jail, et cetera. It's a threshold that must be had. So if you look at the Kennedy assassination and the peripheral material that came out about the conspiracy, there is a tendency in America to say, you know what, no matter what you tell me, I don't care because I don't believe you. So since I don't believe you, anything you show me, even if it's real, I can't believe it because my premise is I can't believe you. Well, I'll let you test it yourself. Yeah, but you contaminated it first. You talk to the testing guy. That's hard to overcome. There's a recreational aspect there, and there's a sincerity of doubt there. But aside from that, I think what we're talking about, the controversial edge of this subject, are they here? Were they here? Are they among us? All of these certain specific questions, they're going to flip, I believe, from the way they are now. What would you call them? 85-15, in the 100%.
Yeah.
70-30 would be a very generous number. But I think in our lifetime, it will flip. It'll have a tipping point. It'll go 80-20, 88-12. Once you get to 92-8, now it's America, and some people just, I'm not giving in. So you got to like them, got to learn to love them because they're keeping the rest of us honest. But that's what I think.
I love using this quote. Do you remember the rock video by Van Halen, Right Now, where it was just a bunch of quotes that were flown on?
Yes.
This one to me totally pertains to the UFO world. Okay. And I'm going to say that because I don't know if you know this or not, but this would be a good topic for your show one day. Sammy Hagar is an ET contactee. He's been abducted. Right. And he's talked about it. Wow. And in fact, before I'm sidebarring here for a second. If you listen to this, go read the lyrics to the song Love Walks In from their 5150 album. Was it 5150 or OU812? Either way, one of those two albums, the song Love Walks In, is actually a tribute song to the lady in silver who comes and takes him.
So he got a babe. Okay,
he got a
so I
babe.
reference
Totally got a babe.
answer over
He's a
and
rock star,
over.
though.
Oh, of course, Sammy Hagar. They said, well, you better send a good-looking one.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But here's the quote that I often use for the UFO world, for the American public.
Yeah.
Right now, this is from the video Van Halen's song Right Now. It says, right now, our government is doing things we think only other countries do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that could pertain to a lot of different things.
It could. It could.
Okay. But if I use it in a UFO aspect, we think that, a lot of people, even though I'm Canadian, you're American and the majority of our audience is American. Okay. We all kind of live in this same society in North America where we think we're actually free and that the government is not, hiding things from us. And, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't hide aliens from us. They wouldn't hide all of this technology. Well, they are. They are. There's a sad reality.
I am so reluctant to say something that I know is true. But if I told you I have 50 years of broadcasting in my bones, in my marrow, that is saying, don't say this. But this is the place to say it, man. I'm on Spaced Out Radio with you. I'm on all these places. So I'm saying it. Okay. And I say this to my close friends often. All right. For many people, this will be a tragedy, what I'm saying. But some people are maybe going to say, something, I never looked at it that way, but that there's so much evidence for what he's saying. And it's the following. Whether it's the protest in a third world country against a dictator, whether it's a cartel shipping in the worst horrific drug, whether it's a bank robber or a mayor or a governor or any rich, wealthy person whose name we may not know. The entire spectrum of humanity, is my point, is equally evil, terrible, and a problem. And they're going to come at us from the tippy top, as John Lennon would say. We just had a John Lennon death anniversary. He would go, where are we going, boys? To the tippy top, John. So at the tippy top, corruption, evil, murder, greed, horribleness. At the very, very bottom, greed, corruption, horribleness. So this is very depressing to some people that we have no way to get our arms around it. Like what are we going to do? It's going to keep coming randomly, no matter what. That is, I say, I'm reluctant to say this because it's so condemning, but it's undeniable. So it's right here embedded in this issue on so many levels. We're talking about the defense, and we're talking about wealth, and we're talking about the people who think that the rest of the humans are peons, and we have to have something to hocus pocus them to keep them happy. And so I say to people, watch what happened at the end of Rome and don't panic if we're not so democratic as we like to think we are. And I think that was your point before. We're always talking about, we're free and we do what let's be realistic about what we really have. And then maybe we'll value it a little bit more, and maybe we'll keep an open mind for the integrity of the open mind. That's how I feel. I mean, you're getting deep with me, man, but I love all this crap. This to me was what I was interested in as a young man. And I thought my career enabled me to delve in. But the integrity of the open mind it's endangered species, and you kind of embody it. I mean, all your questions here are just perfect. I mean, this is the way it's supposed to be. But you and I know this is not the way the rest of the shows sound.
You got that right. Ed Tyll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got 5 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. I look at it like this. I believe there are secrets out there. I do believe that they are not going to tell us. I do believe that any type of disclosure movement that happens in the UFO world needs to be catastrophic, which means that it's people like you and me who have to raise a little hell in order to make it happen. because if we allow the governments, and I'm focusing on the U.S. government here, okay? I think if we allow the government and the military to control it, we're never going to learn the truth.
This is a tough call because in so many areas like this that are vast, where the dollars to do the job are enormous in amount, you run up against the two basic funding sources. If you're not doing it as a government project, then you're right at Wall Street or, on the Paris Stock Exchange or the Eastern Europeans. You're someplace where there's some big dollar support in order to do it. So governments, I think, in this case, you're correct, right? I agree with your judgment. But the idea is, who else? I mean, you've got Elon Musk right now, which is very interesting. But the truth is that all the productive space travel, for the most part, has been government funded. So that's tricky. This is where you need real oversight. And it's so scarce on government. Even, in America, we elected some of these astronauts and put them in to the Congress or whatever. They get absorbed. They don't become a reform, or they become more like what's their establishment. So I don't know. I don't know how you solve that, because 100 years ago, you'd be using guys like William Randolph Hearst and, DuPont and these families. Rockefellers used to do a lot of this stuff because the enormity of what you need day one to get moving on a project. So that's what I wish. I wish that we could clean up the biases and really turn it loose. But, you said it before. They're never going to be candid with us on purpose. One of their things is don't be candid with the public. That's like one of the rules. Now, I don't believe it's malicious. I believe they're a little diluted. Everybody assumes the worst about the other one that they're worried about. So they're going to assume our worst behavior. If we release it, even if one guy in a backyard does something terrible, that's how they live. It's an impossible standard. On the other hand, we live in the world. You're excellent at extracting information that the public needs to know.
Well, and it's usually that time of the show when we get into the topic of the government where I like to put my NSA hat on and say we welcome all the agents and agencies tuning us in tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Give us a call sometime, because, you already have the phone number. I don't need to give it to you. But you're more than welcome to call up for a chat. Let's talk. Let's mingle. And, just remember, some of us, like Ed here, can be bought.
If you're a woman agent, I would love to be patted down if we're doing any extra security. I volunteer right away. Pull me out of line, as they say. Yeah, I'm very cooperative. I'm very pliable when you're patting me down. Very.
Well, we got about a minute to go until we go to break, but we'll continue with this story. But
you never pat me down that fast. No, I need much more than a 1 minute pat down. But go on, your question. Sorry.
Today is actually a big day in ufology. It is the 60th anniversary of the Kecksburg incident, where an acorn-shaped craft crashed into Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh. And many people saw it. Many people, including civilians, ran to the location. Police, fire ran to the location because they thought that maybe a plane had crashed. And by the time many people started showing up, the military was already there with a flatbed truck trying to pick it on up. We're going to get into this story and more with the man they call Little Eddie Tyll. Little Eddie, he's 6'7", like 122 pounds.
That's it. Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, I wish I could be that thin. But we're going to have some fun with Ed. We're going to tell him about the Kecksburg story because this subject is all new to him. He's a comedian. He is a radio personality across the United States. And the best part for me, I call him a friend. on Spaced Out Radio. And when Ed comes back, we're going to fill him in on Kecksburg, and we'll take it till the top of the hour with Ed right here on Spaced Out Radio. So everybody, you just sit tight, relax, because we're going to come right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
I'm like Cher. I have a bunch of ball caps that I could wear during the show. Changing my outfit. Matthew Goodka, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. We got one. I thought we were going to get shut out tonight. That's why I stopped at mentioning it. But thank you, Matthew. Yes, Ed is an awesome guest. This is fun. You know,
Back at you.
and Paramarv, thank you for posting all of Ed's links in the chat room.
Thank you.
Ed, that's a nice chair you have there.
You like this guy?
I do.
Office Depot. Get in there, man. I looked at it. I said, this is the one, right? I didn't want to even buy a chair that day. I said, I got to have this chair. My other chair was crushed over my sudden abandonment and gave it to a friend. But it's just comfy. It's got a little lumbar, but nothing exotic, nothing power, no gizmos, but good support. Yeah, thank you.
My closest Office Depot, actually, it was like 2.5 hours away. But I do have a Staples 45 minutes away.
Well, I think we might have a shot there. If I know people at Staples, I'll see if anything can happen on that. Because you like the chair?
I do like the chair. You know what? I'm only mentioning it because I need a new one. This one is
right. I'm looking over your shoulder. I feel you. Right. You'd look good in this chair. It's a good chair for you. Yeah.
Well, my armrest. I don't know if you can see this or not, but my armrest actually. You can see it down here. Not stroking anything. Okay. But my armrest broke on my chair.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just happened. And I'm a little pissed off about that.
Right. Because I would immediately be tempted to dispose of the chair abruptly if it was me. I might lack the patience in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a good man for keeping it going there.
Yeah. Well, I've put it in I don't usually buy stuff for myself at this time of year because Christmas and everything.
Right.
So I put it on my list.
Gotcha. Was that Kecksburg you were saying we're going to talk about TEX? Yeah. Interesting. I can't wait to hear all about this.
That's
all right. Fantastic. You know, can we at the end or whatever, if people want to reach out to me, plug one way to find me? I have the website, but also Instagram is easy. At Tyll.
Gotta hope, dude. This is my show.
It is.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. They call it Insta Ed.
Insta Ed. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Back when I was young.
Blue Skies, how you doing? Walter Kochabinski, how are you?
That's a good name right there.
Yeah.
Hey,
we call him Walter around here. We go Eastern European, making the W a V. Walter.
Wow, right.
Walter, it's time for dinner. Walter,
I have a Polish
side
of my family there.
Jennifer is saying I need emojis. Oh, there's okay. Thank you, Jennifer. I had Taco Bell a couple weeks ago. My boy played hockey down in the town that had the Taco Bell, and I got Taco Bell delivered home to me. I forgot to share that with you.
Taco Bell.
Oh God, I love Taco Bell.
No, yeah. What are you kidding? Like if there was only one food, that
Oh
would
yeah,
have to be the one you could survive on, right? Oh,
absolutely.
how late
Closest
is you? You
Taco Bell
have
to
like
me is
a
2.5
3 hour
hours
wait.
away.
Well, I was gonna say, what do you got? You have to take a plane to
Pretty
go get
close.
a
Pretty
burrito.
close.
God Almighty!
Andrew B, how you doing? Thank you to Luscious Jewels and Matthew Goodka for the super chats. Hey guys, it really helps us out if you hit subscribe, ring that bell, give us a thumbs up, and after the show, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. You know, YouTube is battling algorithms when it comes to topics like ours right now. So we'd really appreciate your support. We're coming back in 3 seconds, everybody. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Before we bring back our guest, Mr. Ed Tyll, comedian and radio personality, we are going to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Ed Tyll is here, hanging on out with us. He's a comedian. He is a radio personality across the United States. You may have heard him on terrestrial radio. You remember the terrestrial radio where you actually turned the dial? Remember that? Just turn the dial. Oh, there's a station. Yeah, that's what Ed does. That's what we do around here.
Isn't that
We're talking
brutal?
UFOs and everything in between. Ed, thank you so much for being here.
You know, it's a real pleasure. And as you've said this evening, this morning, in some parts of the time zones, I've had the pleasure of having you as a guest when I host Walter Sterling's Sterling Every Damn Night. And that's a special show for me. We haven't talked about that, but I'm going to put a plug in for that show and me. He and I are great friends, many decades, worked together in a breakthrough station that he created that endures to this moment. But I had my 50th on-air anniversary hosting that show.
No.
To the day, the exact day. Then I did a one-man show in New York City. I just got back from New York. One-man show in New York, recapping live for an audience in a theater, 50 years of radio. And Walter is an integral part of that. And is, again, he brought you and me together where the chemistry should be with every host should like you. I don't know who you said somebody, it's unimaginable to me that they don't like having you on, whether they like you, don't like you, believe you're an interesting guy on the air, period. So Walter tends to bump into very talented people. I'm kind of snuck in, I feel, like I got lucky. Yeah, there you go.
Did I ever tell you how Walter and I met?
You did not.
Walter Sterling has turned into become one of my radio mentors. So a couple years ago, I got this email out of the blue saying, would you come on my show? Because Walter is very short. And I said, sure. When? Because I'm pretty open. And, and I checked out because he always ends it with WPHT 1210 AM Philadelphia, and so I checked it on. I'd love to speak in Philadelphia, not knowing what he was like. And then I didn't hear from him for weeks. And then I would get a single email. Are you ready to come on? Yes. Okay. So finally it happened and he brings me on. And then all of a sudden about, I don't know, doing a weekly hit with him. This was before he got, running the 5-day-a-week show. He was only doing the Sunday night show. And I guess his audience absolutely took to me. And it was funny because all of a sudden he says to me, I'll see you tomorrow night. We're now doing 5 days a week on WPHT. I'll see you tomorrow night. Okay. So
Wow.
here I am literally going like 6 days a week with Walter. And I've never asked him for a thing. Never asked him for a thing. I don't get paid to do it. I just do it because I love what I do.
Right.
And his audience, the Midnight Misfits, absolutely seem to like me. So
you fit in with what he's created perfectly.
Yeah. So we talked about it. I'm a known Canadian.
You know what I like in that too? That's a very interesting point, for people listening that are not you, right? That listening, you're having this description of an experience. That's very similar to music. It's slightly indefinable. We know what we like. I mean, the minute we could sing the songs we like, but there's an indefinable quality. If you try to figure out why you like all these different things, you have, and Walter has a perfect pitch ear for that. There's a tone of voice. There's a personality signature that it makes it instant. And then you went right to 5 days. That was seamless, I bet.
Well, the problem with Walter is I didn't know if he was liking what I was doing or not.
Right,
because all of a sudden he would cut me off and it'd be like, that's Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio, and this is Sterling every damn night. Go to break.
Oh, that's funny. You didn't know how he thought of the bit.
No, I didn't know
if he thought it worked or not. Yeah. Well, he's a pro, man. So, when you're on the court with Michael Jordan and they pivot, you don't know sometimes if you're getting the ball, you got to be ready. And sometimes you don't get the ball. It's fantastic. That's live radio, man. Oh, yeah. Now you're talking about, for a listener, the real charm of the two personalities and the hard cut. All that. I mean, I'm a radio guy from the beginning, from the very, very, very beginning. Yeah.
I love radio.
Nothing
like what corporations have done to radio. But
I tell you, the worst thing that's missing in the world of we have everything. That's the argument, right? Like, why would I need radio if I have everything? I have the news the minute I want it. I have the weather the minute I want it. I have any song the minute I want it. And you go, yeah, well, that's not radio. Radio's not just with the data in the news. It's the whole, somebody's watching out for me. Somebody's with me. Somebody's playing songs for me. It's personal relationships. So what you don't get today is any of that because they've dismissed it. But that was the magic. You were there for the person on the other side. And honestly, even seeing is limiting because we loved not knowing what they look like. Why? All I wanted was the presence of the person there, and it was one-on-one. Walter says this all the time. You're talking to one person at a time. It's not, all right, 10,000 people, hello. Like, it's not a rock concert. It's the other way around. It's one person in the car with you, and you're driving alone at night. You got a truck, you got a car, you're working late, you got a kid who's sick, whatever it is, it's a one-on-one. It's magical, man.
What's your best and worst moment in radio?
Worst moment had to be a Lennon assassination, man. I mean, happened. So I'm on the air, just to do IDs. I don't have a show. We're carrying some kind of a Monday Night Football, whatever we were carrying. And it was ABC, so whatever. And it breaks. And it's like, John Lennon's been shot. And I'm, how old? 24. Okay. So all the DJs are older than me, the general managers and all, everybody's going wild. What's going on? What are you doing? What's going on? I'm like, I got it. Like I'm drowning in it. And before you know it, he's dead. I thought we were going to have the thing. They're going to save him. He's going to forget it. In real time, he died like in no time. And I was devastated personally and sitting in front of a 50,000 watt blowtorch on Brickell Avenue and had to stay composed and keep it together. And, my first time in any crisis, 0 to John Lennon's assassination. So that was worst. Best thing that ever happened to me in radio is easy. I grew up idolizing a couple of dudes on the air, and surprise, surprise, they were maniacs, all three of them. And my mother liked one of them, so my mom and I had this dude in common. And I started listening, and I got a phone call one day when I'm in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta doing my midday show, and I think I'm cool. And, you know, I'm a dope, but I'm 29. I think I know everything. So I get this call from New York, and it's this guy that I idolize as a producer. And Bob's been listening to you and wants you to come up to New York. Or will you come up and do some vacation fill-in? I said, this is a crazy, you know, really? Yes. Oh, yes. You know, yes. What, you know, what, I didn't know what to think. You know, yes was the answer. So I get the call. And now I go up there and I'm doing the guy's show. And it's Monday. And I'm staying at my parents' house. That's how young I am, right? I mean, you know, I have an apartment in Atlanta, but I mean, I'm in New York, and here I am, hometown, home call letters, biggest, you know, most brash guy, and I'm a squirt. You know, the disparity of his age and maturity and me getting on. I literally am at this point 3-0, like an even 30 when I get to do the show. I go on the show and I do an open. That's, you know, it's like Al Pacino's doing the show, you know, it's operatic, man. I'm going insane. And I finish, go to the break. And on the other side, the whole station is staring at me and they're like clapping. And I said, this is it. You know, like right now, I don't even care if I sign a contract. It doesn't matter. Like right now, I delivered to it's like being on the Yankees and you're filling in and you get a home run when they need it. And everybody goes, wow, who is this guy? Like, that's what was happening. No one, it was like, who is this guy? Yeah. That's so Apex and what do you call it? Zenith and Nadir. Now, why did I not eventually get that show in 10 seconds or less? The next day, the very next day of that episode was 9/11.
My worst day in radio happened on 9/11. It was in the evening. After I was in the studio helping we were just trying to get any sort of material in Vancouver reaction to it. So we had found out that on the first plane that 2 NHL scouts had been on that plane that hit the first tower. Mm. So I call up at that point, the Vancouver Canucks hit the director of amateur scouting. His name is Ron Delorme. Gives me a beautiful interview for about 8 minutes. Ooh. And I said, at the end, I said, Ron, you know, thank you. It's been a horrible day. Thank you very much. And he goes, Dave, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. He goes, I didn't know they were on the plane.
He did the interview without knowing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I broke down right there.
Did you? Yeah.
That was my breaking point.
Yeah.
Horrible day. My best time in radio, I could say this, was probably, and it was my most awkward as well. I was reporting, and it was a hockey story at NHL trade deadline. And I had to tell a player he got traded.
Wow. By
no, he hadn't contacted him yet. And I told him he had been traded.
Wow.
He was my one insider in the dressing room. My one insider, and he gets traded. Right?
Interesting. Wow.
My name's Steve McCarthy. Yeah. But I want to get into Kecksburg UFO because it is the anniversary of Kecksburg. So I'm going to quickly read this to you because this is a UFO show. So I did this little write-up. Well, ChatGPT did. I'm just going to take credit for it because I put it in.
Nice.
So on December 9th, 1965, remains one of North America's most puzzling UFO cases. It's called the Little Eddie Tyll Bell. No, it's not. It began with a spectacular fireball seen streaking across the sky of the Midwest and central Canada. Now, for my audience, I just want to add this. You've heard me say a number of times on this show that the province of Manitoba, which is in central Canada, right above the Dakotas, right above Minnesota, for some reason, there is this open gateway that the UFOs take to get into North America. And it's over the province of Manitoba. Well, let's go to the Kecksburg incident, because guess what? Witnesses across Manitoba and then Ontario reported seeing a brilliant object traveling at high speed, shedding sparks and changing colors as it passed overhead of the provinces. Radar operators and observatories tracked what appeared to be a controlled descent rather than a simple meteor. As the object continued southeast across the Great Lakes, additional sightings came from Michigan and Ohio, marking a consistent flight line toward western Pennsylvania. By the time the glowing object reached Penn State, reports described it slowing down dramatically, something meteors do not do. Residents of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, a small rural community south of Pittsburgh, saw the object make a sharp turn before descending into a wooden ravine. Moments later, a thunderous vibration shook the ground. Firefighters and police and curious locals were already on the scene when this happened. They rushed towards the site where they expected to find an aircraft accident. Instead, the area was quickly sealed off by the United States military and its personnel, who arrived in force, raising immediate suspicion. Witnesses claim the military recovered a large metallic object, loaded it onto a flatbed truck, and removed it under heavy armed guards that same night. Eyewitness descriptions of the craft have become the iconic heart of the Kecksburg mystery. Those who claimed to see it described it as an object shaped like a large acorn, roughly the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. It appeared to have a bronze gold metallic surface, smooth yet slightly scorched from the apparent atmospheric heating. Around the base was a distinct band or rim featuring unusual markings, often described as like Egyptian hieroglyphics, but it wasn't a matching language to any known on Earth. Unlike typical rocket stages or space debris, the craft reportedly showed no visible seams, no joints or rivets, giving it a precise, engineered look. The combination of the controlled flight profile from Manitoba down through the Midwest to Pennsylvania and the structured non-meteor-like design of the object continues to fuel debate. Officials' explanations over the years have ranged from a Soviet Cosmos 96 satellite to a meteor or re-entering debris, though none fully match the witness accounts or the trajectory data. For many researchers, the Kecksburg craft remains one of the most compelling examples of an object exhibiting both advanced aeronautical behavior and anomalous physical characteristics. 60 years later, the incident retains its status as America's Roswell of the East, and the debate over what fell in the Pennsylvania sky still continues. One big acorn.
What strikes you with the acorn shape? Don't you see something very similar to the capsules that we used to pluck out in the very, very beginning? I forget if it was not Apollo, but there was an early program. Nobody was in them. Then we had one guy in there shortly, or that era. There might be a thing here where this technology, you think they would retrofit to come into our dimension, and that's why it would be similar to stuff we've seen? Because you would think that they would already be the Jetsons, and what we're describing here is kind of rudimentary. What do you think?
Well, first off, an acorn shouldn't fly.
No, but it's got the point in the front like the capsule does.
I mean, if it's flying like a bullet,
right?
Okay, then yes. But if it's flying, you know, here's the problem with it. We don't know if it had a propulsion system.
Right.
A lot of these
It's
UFOs don't
landing,
seem to
yeah.
have
Yeah.
a propulsion system that is notable.
Right, right. But this is where their superiority could be, right? They could, the propellant they use could be completely evaporated, the unused portion. They could be all way ahead. My thing is, with what you're describing there, it was quickly taken away. Okay, quickly disposed, and that was military. You said that picked it up under a heavy guard, correct?
Well, let's just say if it's a weather balloon, you don't bring a flat deck truck at an army of
No, right.
men.
I didn't think it was a balloon, but the fact that the military is always right on this stuff, ready to get it, to scurry away with it, also makes it, to me, my way, not so random what's happening here. Now, yeah, maybe they're just a few hours ahead of the rest of it, but whatever. It just seems like they're always right on it and scrupulous. They never leave anything behind by mistake. There's no human error on collection. So, my buddy Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank will always criticize somebody who talks about their company in the next following year. And he goes, you're assuming everything goes perfectly. So if it's perfect in terms of the way it's vanished, that does lead me to believe something's going on. If it's all human endeavor, this case is going to crack one day by human failure. Even someone who's trying to keep it is going to not be perfect. So the shape, and there was two things, right? There were two things in this. There was the shape you mentioned. Thought there was another element about this that you read.
Well, I mean, it is the shape, number one,
But
but number two, it's
controlled landing.
yeah,
It's not a meteor.
Once again,
yes, go on. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, but yeah.
I was told by a gentleman named Luis Elizondo, who used to run a UFO program at Pentagon.
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, where should I be looking in Canada? And in the ominous text that he sent back, he wouldn't go into further detail. All he said was, watch Manitoba. So all of these government satellites and defense satellites that Canada and the US has for watching UFOs has them all presented around Manitoba, which is the central part.
Over the top, right? They're coming over the top of the planet.
We don't know. We don't know. It seems like there is a doorway. Like everything has an entry point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it seems like that entry point doorway, see, for North America, for many of these sightings, happens in Manitoba.
It's a massive amount of uncharted territory, right? Mountains where no one is.
That's British Columbia. Manitoba is very flat, but it also extends into the Hudson's Bay, which is the largest bay in the world. Right. So it is a little bit
so flat.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. Now, no one comes up with any kind of big evidence of a craft. Has anyone ever, say, I've got it? That hasn't happened over there yet. But it must be a hot investigation.
There's been a crash there, but the Americans got there before the Canadians and said we couldn't have it on our own land.
So again, American military right on the spot.
Absolutely. We have 35 seconds left with you, Mr. Ed Tyll. Tell everybody where they can find you.
On Instagram, it's at EDTYLL. Dave, thank you so much. This has been a great fun. Look forward to the next time.
We have to do this again. And next time, we got to get the legend himself, Mr. Walter M. Sterling, on the air.
I hope so. It's always great. Yeah, he's always fun. And I love filling in for him, man. And I love having you on. Yeah.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime you want to spend some time together, you let me know, because this has been absolutely enjoyable for me. It's a little bit different than what we do, but I know our audience is going to love you. Coming up next in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is going to kick things off with a spooky story. Then Robin Haynes will be in for the cryptid Q&A, so get your questions ready.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Dude, that was so much fun.
Same as the fastest 2 hours ever. Fantastic. I loved it, man. Thank you.
Dude, thank you very much. Spread the love, my friend.
Will do. And we'll do this again for sure.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, Eddie.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Little Eddie Tyll, everybody. I'm going to step away. We'll be right back, everyone. Hi, Robin Haynes. I am back. We got about a minute to go here. Archon of J-Day, welcome to SOR chat. All right. I set up that interview between John Ramirez and Chris Ramsey, by the way, Amy. I did that one. I never got credit. Not that I care. All right. Thank you tonight to Erica, Jules, and Matthew Goodka for the super chats. Smokes a lot. How you doing? Remember, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Get your stuff by Christmas. We do not have ugly swag. There's none there. No ugly swag. Yep. Robin's coming up here. Robin, Swamp Dweller will be about 6.5 minutes, okay? All right. We are into the third hour of Spaced Out Radio. Yes, we continue on. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy who lives in the middle of nowhere, Canada, broadcasting all these weird, strange subjects to you each and every night. Robin Haynes and Swamp Dweller coming up momentarily. But first, I want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ololigamancy. Ololigamancy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
Our yearly visits brought us peace, clarity, and respect for nature. But last year's trip ended in one of the most horrifying and distressing incidents of my entire life. One that completely changed the way I see the world and the way I consider the human mind. Year in, year out, we take an overnight coach up across the border, then hike out to a place called Loch Aber. The loch is a private fishing lake, supposedly reserved for members of a local fishing club who ensure the waters are chock full of fish for them to catch. Which makes it oh so easy for us to pull a quick in-and-out raid to catch enough of the smaller rough fish for dinner. I'm serious. 45 minutes and we're golden. And take it from any fisherman, that is lightning speed for a half-decent catch. But last year we decided we were tired of the same old digs and set our gazes on a different part of the map. According to a map that we had found, it told us that there was a similarly deep loch about 30 miles east known as Loch D. We figured it would be a perfect fishing spot, and we were right. Sure, it wasn't as quick fire as the private members lake, but it came with considerably less guilt. Everything was going perfect. That was until the second night, when in the middle of a campfire drinking session, one of my buddies jumped out of his seat and recoiled from the fire. "What the hell is that?" he asked, sort of calmly at first. Nothing more than cautious confusion. "Who's who?" someone replies lazily. "Someone moving through the trees back there." He was pointing into the trees directly behind my back. I actually gave a hoot of sarcastic laughter at first, thinking he was trying to scare us. But the moment it became obvious that he was not messing around, and a jolt of fear went through my freaking face, I leaped out of my seat, spun around, and shined my torch into the darkness. You could feel the tension among us rising as we desperately looked around for who might have been been stalking us out here. Torch beams darted across the trees, inspecting every trunk or thicket of the bushes, but there was nothing that we could see, no sign of the person my friend had seen. "Hello?" someone called out, immediately shushed by the rest of us. No one wanted to give away our position, but at the same time, we needed to know if there was someone out there, watching us. But again, there was just silence. "I think you've had a bit too much to drink, mate," I remember saying to the guy who supposedly seen a figure walking through the trees. "I'm fine, I barely touched that bells I brought. I swear to God I saw someone just then." "Like who?" someone asked. "Man, woman, young, old, what?" I don't know," he replied shakily. "But they were big. Really big." "The only big thing around here is your bloody imagination, mate. Now go get your head down. It's been a long day." And it had. Thanks to the overnight coach, no one really sleeps on the journey up to Scotland. I mean, they close their eyes, maybe, get a few minutes of sleep, listen to some chill music through their headphones, but they never really sleep. So everyone ends up being pretty wrecked by the end of the first night. The next morning we felt even worse. The first night after such a long journey is usually one where we sleep like the dead. But not that night. None of us could quite relax. Not with the possibility of having someone stalking us in the back of our minds. Thank God we were only planning to fish that day, as we really were not in the mood for anything else, given how bloody exhausted we were. After breakfast, we marched down to the loch with our fishing gear. It's a gorgeous area, a crisp blue lake ringed by hills. It's not unusual to get some really nice, sunny days up in Scotland too, especially during the summer. But that day, the sky was horrible, grimy gray, like the sun had barely risen at all. I was tired, half soaked from the drizzle, and barely even excited to be fishing for my dinner. I actually hoped that something exciting would happen, and for my sins, my wish came true. "Look," one of us shouted. "Over there, on the other side of the loch. Jesus Christ, can you see that thing?" It was the same lad that had seen someone or something walking through the trees. Where? We were terrified. One sighting could have been his eyes playing tricks on him. Another could possibly be a mistake, right? "There," he said, pointing. "Just on the other side. It came out of the trees for a moment, then disappeared again. Please tell me you saw that." "Mate, just calm down. It's probably just—" "I know what I saw, and we need to get the hell out of these bloody woods right now," he said, grabbing up his gear in a panic. I remember him rushing off back to camp, one of the lads following him, still trying to calm him down. But it was impossible. He was manic, scared half to death by whatever he had briefly seen. I asked the other boys if they had seen anything. Each shook their head. None had any idea what he was talking about, but that didn't mean they weren't just as freaked out over his outburst. We were supposed to stay for 7 full nights, but that second one was our last. We managed to talk the lad who was panicking down, convincing him to stay a few nights more at the very least. We'd come all this way, and I wasn't about to let us just leave because we were a wee scared of something. But it didn't end there. In the middle of the night, the lad had been seeing something burst out of his tent, waking up each of us before saying, "Can you hear that?" There was silence. Dead silence. I mean, I strained my ears trying to hear what he could hear, but there was nothing. He was scratching at his own ears, gritting his teeth, rocking back and forth in the dirt. It's like the sound was completely overwhelming him. That's the exact moment I realized that maybe something was happening. Maybe there was no monster. Maybe it was all in his head. He was experiencing a psychotic break, and it was all in his head.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, you can head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell, as he literally has thousands of stories there for you to choose from each and every night. Now, let's move on to Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Q&A.
Robin Haynes walks soft with a tall tree sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptic Q&A.
Robin Haynes is returning once again for the Cryptid Q&A. Oh my goodness, I had a hiccup there for a second. That caught me off guard. You know? How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you, as it always is. How have you been?
I'm doing good. Good. It's been crazy lately, but it's a good thing. Keeping
Crazy
busy.
how? Because I can't see your life getting crazier.
It's just ridiculous. Like every time you think it's not going to get weirder, either something more paranormal will happen or something else will go on. I've been business wise. It's been, with this big shift, it's kind of triggered everybody. So I've been busy with that. And of course, the cryptids are their own brand of craziness. The UFOs are out in full force, and it doesn't let up. It just doesn't. I'm glad. I'm not complaining. I would be miserable if it did.
I want to ask you a little bit outside of the cryptids. You are also a very talented intuitive.
Yes.
That people gravitate to when it comes to looking for psychic readings or something along those lines. What is the difference for you when you are doing a reading, say, for a human, rather than trying to communicate with these cryptid beings?
Well, when I work with the Sasquatch or any of the cryptids, as far as that goes, or even animals, because they're all intuitive, you can mind speak with all of them. I'm focusing on that. It's your intent. It's what you want to do. When I do a reading for somebody, I read their energy, I read their frequency, and I'm tuned into them. And then it goes through the collective consciousness. Like if I'm going to talk to one of the Sasquatch for somebody, which I get a lot of people that'll get hold of me and say, hey, can you talk to my guys, this, or this? I go into the collective consciousness. So what I'm doing is, that's not psychic, that's talking, that's communication, that's, verbally back and forth from them. Or not verbally, but, through mind speak it is. When I'm talking and doing a reading on somebody, yes, I'm tapped into their consciousness, I'm tapped into their frequency and energy, but it's about them. It's about getting the information that I do. It just comes to me. I mean, I don't claim to be an expert on anything, but I have a really good track record of zeroing in on people, being able to get the information that they've asked. And they're always, like, how do you know this? I just tap into you. I tap into that individual person, and it just comes.
Do you prefer reading people, or do you prefer reading the cryptids or supernatural?
Do you know, it varies. It ends up turning, it's so funny because like when I'm working with a client, if I'm tapped into the cryptids for them, the rest of it sometimes just pulls in. And like in the middle of a reading and I'm talking to the cryptids, I'll be like, oh my gosh, what about this, and this with you? And they're like, how did you know that? It just comes to me. I think I'm so used to talking with the cryptids. It's just like an automatic thing. That's just part of my normal day. That's part of my normal life. So when I'm working with somebody one-on-one psychically, it is a little bit different. It's still easy to do for me, but it is different. I'm used to dealing with the cryptids more than I do the other. I do get a lot of psychic readings. People get hold of me over from my website, whether it's to talk to a loved one, or a lot right now seems to be going on, where am I supposed to be in my life? And when I talk to them, it triggers it. And I just automatically, I get things intuitively about them and what's going on in their life and where they're headed and that kind of thing. But I think, I enjoy the cryptid work. Not that I don't enjoy the other, but I do enjoy the cryptid work because I get a dialogue with them and I'm talking to them and we're going back and forth and they're teaching me things and I'm learning about them. And then the people that I work with client base wise that want me to talk to the ones in their area, I'll be like, okay, they're talking to me about this that's gone on in your backyard or this or this or this. And they're like, oh my gosh, absolutely right. So that's always kind of fun. It's just a different vibe about it. But I am partial, to the cryptids because those are kind of where my heart's at. But I definitely don't mind the psychic part.
Have you ever had a situation when you were doing a reading for someone and all of a sudden you're like, I can't read you? Like maybe something came through that you didn't really want to deal with, or to maybe it was bad juju, or maybe just bad energy, or something dark that was, basically saying stay away from this person. Have you ever had that happen?
No, not really. I have gotten different things that have come in that's more of a negative energy. I know how to use my own frequency and energy as a protectant, and I know how to handle it, when things like that go on. Have I ever had anything bad come in? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was working with one person, and there was a lot of dark things that were in that person's background, and things started to come in. But I do know how to handle it when they do. And then I also, when I work with somebody, I will do an energy bubble over the top of them so that if anything comes in, they are protected at all times. I'm kind of like the safety police. It's like when I teach my frequency and energy classes. If you're going to learn mind speak from me, if you're going to work with the frequencies and energies, it is an absolute must. You're going to learn energy signatures because your life could depend on it, so that you know what you're dealing with. Everything has an energy signature, just like a thumbprint. You need to be able to tell if whatever you're talking to is good energy or dark energy. You need to be able to know if it's something that you've been talking to, if it's familiar, or if it's something that comes in and lies. So I try to be like, I tell everybody I'm the safety police. I'm like everybody's mom. I do the safety police things. I also do frequency and energy clearings in homes. I can do it remotely, where it changes the frequency and energy within your home to make it more comfortable, more like a freshen up type thing. If there is anything dark in there, I remove it. When I do that, again, everybody's energy bubbled before I do anything, because I'm really into the safety aspect of it.
Have you ever had a situation where you're reading someone and their own spirit guides say, okay, that's enough, no more with this person?
I haven't. They seem to be really open. There's sometimes that I'll go into a reading on somebody, and I'm actually a little bit nervous because like nothing is coming. And it usually takes less than 15 seconds and something always starts coming in. And then it's just like on a roll from there. I mean, I always want everybody to be happy and satisfied, but I also want it to be accurate. I am very careful with what I say and what I don't say, because I want to make sure that it's accurate and it's for them. It's like when I do the schedule for the day out, I will only put a few people on in a day. I don't want bleed over from other people. I want everybody's reading to be crisp and clear and directly on them. I don't want any bleed over from other sessions. So I space my sessions out quite a bit, just to make sure that what I get is accurate and specific for that person, because I always start out reading the energies and frequencies, and that's when everything else comes in. I was working with somebody a few weeks ago, and we did a psychic reading, but then we went over and switched into the frequencies and the energies. And literally my brain was getting blown up, because the clan of Sasquatch that lived not far from that person's house, everybody's talking at one time. And they were all excited that this person was learning about the frequencies and the energy, because that's a big deal to all the cryptids, as well as what's going on in our world right now. And it was like, I had to tell them, just give me a second. Everybody's talking at one time, so I could compartmentalize what everybody was saying and get the messages across to them and make sure it's accurate. The thing I like the most is when I get the feedback from my people and they're like, there's no way you could have known about this. Like, no way you could have known. And then, be able to link right in on it. So, that's always, I think that's the most fun I get with it.
I can see that.
Yeah. And we do a lot of overtime. Like, the sessions are booked either as a 30-minute session or a 60-minute session. And I always tell everybody, if you book for an hour, that's fine. You're going to have your hour. But if we're right in the middle of something that's going on, whether it's psychically or whether it's the classes or whatever, I don't drop people just because the timer went out. Like, if it's going to take what we're working on at that moment in time another 30 minutes to do it, then 30 minutes you got free on the clock. You pay for what you do, because we do get into a lot of stuff. And if it's a psychic reading and a lot of things are coming in, I don't want anybody to feel like they got dropped just because the timer went out. Like, that drives me crazy. It just does. So everybody is generally pretty happy because they book for an hour and then they end up going like an hour and a half to 2 hours and they still pay for the hour. So we have a lot of fun.
We talk a lot about Sasquatch with you and
Yeah.
other cryptids, but have you ever had a situation where you have had any sort of some transformational conversation with extraterrestrials?
Yeah, I get a lot of ET activity. I get a lot of abductions, and this is so crazy. Like, this one even shocked me. I had about a week and a half ago missing time of like about 5 to 6 hours. It was a large span, and during that time, like some abductions, because I've been abducted on and off my whole life. That it's not been a secret. It's been made public. Lots of DNA taken. I had a couple of fetal implants and that kind of thing. And normally, if I don't remember, okay. But a lot of times they do let me remember. And this was like a 5 to 6 hour time span that was just blacked out. Just completely. I was awake I was wide awake. I felt myself getting knocked out. And then all this time goes by. I woke up. There was damage to my phone. I had marks on me, but I didn't feel frightened like it had been a bad experience. It had just been an experience. So I went in last week to get my hair cut. My daughter took me to the salon that she goes to. They went to go cut the back of my hair, and I told her I don't want a lot of length off. There was a rectangular shape cut that had been taken out of the back of my hair. I couldn't see it from the front because the sides were still long, but it was in the back, and it was like 4 or 5 inches wide and like 3 inches tall. And the woman that was cutting my hair was absolutely floored. And of course, I couldn't see it. It was in the back. I had no idea. And she showed my daughter, and then she showed me the mirror, and it was very, very clear. It was a rectangular shaped cut. They had to take about 3 inches off just to even try to make it somewhat level. And I said to her, I said, well, is it like a rub mark? What is it? I mean, I don't understand this. And she said, no, this was cut. This was absolutely cut. And she's like, who cut your hair last? And I said, like a year ago. Literally, I just let my hair grow out. So I get a lot of weird stuff that goes on. I mean, that's like the normal things in my life. I have a very abnormal life. If it goes normal, I'm going to be in panic mode because I'm not going to know what to do.
Right.
I get a lot of beams of light that get shined in my window. And it's really crazy. I get a lot of ET activity, more than, probably what anybody realizes. But it's been like that my whole life. Like my first time I remember being on a ship, I was 4. And it's just been on and off my whole life. So that's my normal.
Who takes you?
Pardon?
Who takes you?
I've had different races. I mean, I don't even know all the names of these races. Like, normally I've had the tall grays, I've had the short grays, I've had encounters with Nordics, and I've had mantis. I had this one that looked like an ant. It had the head of an ant. It's craziness. It really is. When I was little, I never knew any better. Like, for me, it was my normal. So I never realized when I was small that this isn't what everybody did. Like, this was abnormal to everybody else because this was my normal. By the time I realized nobody was having any of these experiences, I just kept my mouth shut.
Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Q&A continues on Spaced Out Radio when we return right after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, Robin.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely interesting at my place usually. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I felt bad the other night. I went out in the backyard, and usually I don't ever flash flashlights into the woods because if there's cryptids out there, it frightens them. So I just don't. And one of the dogs had broke the fence in the backyard. And I thought, God, I got to go out in the dark and fix it. They've got to be out in the morning to go to the bathroom. I don't want anybody getting loose. So I went out there with a flashlight. I didn't realize, normally they tell me when they're out there. Nobody said a thing. I went out in the backyard and I flashed the flashlight on the fence. And man, whoever it was, all I saw, it looked like it was about 10, 12 feet tall, booking across the backyard, absolutely livid. Next thing I know, a tree gets lifted up and tossed. I mean, it wasn't a massive tree, but it was a tree. And then it just sounded like a freight train going back through there. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Nobody said a thing. But definitely they were not happy.
No, I can see where they wouldn't be.
But that's part of my normal routine,
Mm-hmm.
or like I'll be sitting on my bed watching TV and they're knocking on the wall from the outside.
I had a friend of mine, a former friend of mine, who actually had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was working overnight shifts because he worked for the railroad. And he was working overnight shift. And she got so scared, she called me up at like 2:00 in the morning and said, "Can you come here and check my property?" And I just drove my vehicle right, like, because they had 10 acres,
Mm-hmm.
right on their grass, right around the house, trying to see if I
Yeah.
could see anything, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to, if you're going to be where they're interacting like that in the middle of the night. There was a long period of time that they would knock on my window and I would go outside with them about 2:00 in the morning, and I'd go out and sit in the woods with them, and they would be chattering and walking around me or whatever. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I wasn't really active with the Sasquatch community. I didn't know any better. Like now I look at it and I'm thinking I could have gotten myself killed because I was completely cut off from everybody. The group I was working with just was the best. Like I could do anything with them. I felt safe at all times, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. If you're going to go out and things like that are going on, you don't leave your doorway. You don't ever put yourself in a situation that anybody could get behind you. Back then I was by myself. I didn't have anybody to guide me or teach me or anything. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'd be in my slippers and pajamas, no flashlight, no nothing. I'm out there with them. They're running all around. I can see them physically and I can hear them because they're chattering back and forth. Or they would be out sitting underneath my window all night long and I can hear them talking back and forth. I put an air conditioner in my window one time and I woke up the next morning. They had taken the air conditioner out. It was totally mangled and at the back of the woods. It's like, because they couldn't see me through the window.
I can just imagine. I just had the stupidest vision in my head about that. Hey, where's Robin? How come we can't watch her? Let's get her in her box, man.
Oh, they did. And, it was weird because the dogs never sounded off. I never heard a noise, which means they would have had to trance me as well as the dogs. And it was a brand new air conditioner. And they didn't like it if I moved my bed away from that window, because the window I would leave open a little bit at night and they would reach their hand in and play with my hair. I'd get up in the morning, I'd have mud and leaves and everything in my hair. But it got really hot that summer. So I put an air conditioner in and I thought, no big deal. I mean, it made it probably partially through the first night and that was it. And it was at the back of the woods, mangled up, torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. I was like, fine, I'll sweat. There's nothing else I can do.
Oh my word.
But it was one of those things. They have to be able to see me through the window. Like I don't have curtains in my bedroom. When I put curtains up in my bedroom, they pound, they scream, they holler. But I've always lived in the woods. So, I mean, it's not like anybody can see me. I change in the bathroom, so it's not a big deal, but I'll wake up and roll over and there's faces in the window.
Hold that thought. I want to continue that conversation when we return.
Okay.
We got about 25 seconds. Big thank you tonight to Amy, Erica, Luscious Jules, and Matthew Gutka for the great super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support. You can now get tickets at cariboucon.com, cariboucon.com. That's CARIBOOCON.com for the first annual Caribou Con here at 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Get your VIP tickets today. Here we go at the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Robin Haynes, we have her till the top of the hour. And Robin, one of the things you were mentioning on the break, and I figured we'd bring it over to the show, was that Sasquatch and other cryptid creatures, for some reason, like to look in windows into houses.
Yeah.
They've been seen to be walking on these porches and looking into windows, bedroom windows, bathroom windows, living room windows, kitchen windows. What's the fascination with the windows?
It's not the windows, it's us. You know, it's always so funny to me because we have all of our people that go out in the woods and they're trying to find Sasquatch and watch them and spy on them and see what they're doing all the time. And we're out there looking for them while they're coming in to look at us. I mean, like, they are just as fascinated. We're in the house, so that's why they're in the window. You know, it's very common in my world where if I roll over in the middle of the night, I get woke up or whatever, I roll over and there will be a face looking in the window. It used to drive my kids crazy when they were growing up, you know, because they would have their bedrooms and they didn't want curtains. They wanted the blackout curtains. They wanted no light, no anything that could be seen through that window, because if they would wake up in the middle of the night and they'd look at a window, there'd be a Sasquatch looking in. My boys one day came and woke me up and they're like, Mom, there's 3 men sitting in the backyard, sitting Indian style. And my kids all had TVs in their room. And they had their curtains open and their TV was going. And these, you know, they didn't know what they were watching. They just saw the colors dancing on the TV screen, and they would sit out there Indian style. We caught them several times just watching in the window because they could see where the TV was. I mean, it's not like they're watching a program. They were just seeing that, you know, all these shapes and figures were dancing all around. My daughter would hate it. She's like, I don't want to wake up and see a face in the window. My boys got to be the same way. They were never frightened. It just creeped them out because they were being watched all the time. My kitchen window was like 8 foot off the ground. And my daughter would come and get me and say, every time I go in the kitchen, there's a face in the window. I'd walk outside, there'd be footprints out the window. Or, you know, you'd go to look and you'd see them as they were going into the woods. It's just a fascination. They're busy watching people. We're out there chasing them all around, trying to watch them. And it's just hysterical because, well, we're watching them the whole time they're watching us. I mean, it's just a novelty to them. You know, now, like, the kids had all the blackout curtains, so they didn't have to see it all the time. Like I was telling you a few minutes ago, I wasn't allowed that freedom. If they can't see in my bedroom window, I have pounding, I hear hollering, I get mind speak, I hear it audibly. They blow, you know, they're constantly going on. They panic. They pound on the walls. They have a fit. Now, I've always lived out in the woods. You know, I get dressed in the bathroom. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't have window peepers other than the cryptids that look in my window. I don't even attempt curtains on my window. There's no point, because if I put the curtains down, they totally flip out. For a long time, I've gotten where I have more freedom with moving my bed around the room as long as they can see me. But with one clan that was around me when I lived in Michigan, they were the most hands-on clan I've ever experienced. They walked around my property uncloaked all the time. It was not uncommon just to look out in the yard and see them walking around. The interaction was off the charts. I've never been anywhere that it was that active where they didn't care if I saw them.
when they're
because of
looking
it,
in the window,
huh?
sorry, but when they are looking in the windows and they're curious about us, what gets them curious? Is it music? Is it television? Is it just us roaming around or eating dinner at the kitchen table, if anybody actually does that anymore?
It's just so they can see what we're doing. They don't understand what we're doing most of the time. But if you also are a high frequency person and they're hearing you laugh, which raises your frequency, or you've got kids or pets or whatever, it's like just being able, they get to see what we're doing. They're constantly curious as to what we're doing. Some are. You've got groups of them that just want to get high up in the mountains or high deep in the woods to get away from us. But the ones that do like a little bit of human contact, we're curiosity. They will literally watch all the time. I've gotten up at 2 and 3 in the morning and walked through my living room and had one standing on my porch looking in the window, on the big door that goes out back, and it's just standing there. They want to watch all the time. My front door is a solid door, but it has glass panels all the way around it. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the living room and looked over to these glass panels, and Zerky, which is one of the kids around here, he's getting older now, but I mean, he's still under 10. And his head, his little black head, which isn't little anymore, is looking in those glass panels. He would go up on the porch because I always put food out for the feral cats, and he would steal the cat food like I didn't know it was him. And I would literally watch him stealing the cat food, and then he'd look in the window before he turned around and left. I mean, it's just, they're just curious. They want to see whatever it is we're doing, just like we want to study their daily lives. They do the same thing. They're around much more than people think.
I want to get to a question from our audience here. Maybe two.
Okay.
Start off with Blue Cruise. Do the Sasquatch use a chirping or clicking consonants or noises to communicate with each other, similar to Kojian language used by indigenous tribes or groups in Southern Africa?
They actually do, whether it's, like that kind of a tribe or not, but they do. Even if they are out in the woods and we come up on them or whatever, they will do clicking, chirping, bird noises. They will make a noise like with their face, where like if you were to open your mouth and then hit the side of your face like a cupping noise, they'll do that. They can imitate any noise they want, but it reminds me of speaking like in Morse code. Like they'll have certain chirps that they'll make so that one of the other ones will hear them, and it will have certain meanings, whether it's okay, there's a human here, or there's this here, or there's that here. But yeah, they absolutely will. Absolutely.
What about this samurai chatter then?
Oh yeah, they do. The samurai chatter, again, it's all communication and alerting the other ones to situations. They know we aren't going to know what they're talking about. We aren't going to know what they mean. So rather than use words that would key us to what they're doing, they're going to do samurai chatter. Again, they're going to do the chirping. They're going to do all kinds of weird noises that mean something between them. So they can signal each other. They can communicate with each other without anybody knowing about it.
Okay, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Erica. Have you ever told them not to mess with your home?
Yeah, when some of them get a little bit overzealous, yeah. Oh yeah. The adolescents and the little kids a few years ago kept climbing up on my roof, and they would go right over my bedroom and they would play up there, and it sounded like a frat party from a college dorm up there. And I was so afraid they were going to end up coming through the roof because there was too many up there. They were just playing and wrestling. And I tried mind speaking and telling them to get down, and they weren't listening. I even told them, I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to find your parents. You guys, I did the whole thing. Nobody would listen. So I finally one night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm outside in my yard doing the mom voice, which does not work very often. Once in a while I can get away with it. And I'm like, you will get your hairy asses off my roof right now, or I'm going to go to the council, and I'm going to, I think they probably laughed at me, but they did stop. and I have not had a problem with them since. But yeah, they generally are not destructive for me. Have we had damage? Absolutely. But not intentional damage. It's like if whoever watched the cartoon The Flintstones and there was Bam Bam Rubble, like they don't know their own strength. And so they would do different things. In my garage for a very long time, I had kennels in there for some of the dogs. And I also have a kennel where my mini pigs go in at night because they have to have climate control. They don't like being outside all the time. And they would want to play with the animals. And so they actually took the bottom corner of the garage door, which is a very, very large, it's a 2-car garage with one door. Who devised it had to be an idiot. It's the worst thing ever. And they pushed it in at the bottom corner, and they pushed it so hard, it bent the wheels and pulled it right off the track. And then it flipped that door up, and then they just did the belly crawl and came in. I go out in the garage in the morning, all the animals are loose because they've let them out of the pen. There's muddy footprints all over the place. They didn't tear anything apart in the garage. They just wanted to play with the animals. That's all they wanted to do. I mean, it got to the point where at night I was putting cameras out there to see who was doing what. But they just destroyed that garage door. And they weren't trying to destroy the garage door. They wanted to come in and play with the animals. They play with my dogs and my mini pigs outside all the time. They've never hurt them. They've been great with them. My animals love them. But when they went in at night, they were having a fit, and I had to go out there and again throw a hissy fit, and you are not going to do that. I've been very fortunate that generally if they start getting into too much trouble or get too torqued up, they generally will back it down. If I get mad enough, they back it down. So I've been lucky. I know a lot of people that have not. So yeah, there's been a little bit of damage here and there, not intentional damage. Like they don't come in and just destroy all my stuff. I get a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm sure you've got all this damage." I really don't. There's been a few isolated instances. The garage door I wasn't thrilled about.
Right. I want to ask you a question because George Knapp recently interviewed David Paulides on David Paulides's next documentary about Bigfoot. Yeah. And Paulides finally gets into the fact that Sasquatch may not be just flesh and blood. It may have some supernatural ability.
Absolutely.
Okay. He also brought up the fact about the BFRO, the Bigfoot research organization, which alleges to be a scientific group, okay, where they are looking for scientific answers. But on the flip side, not in my opinion, and many other opinions like it, they're not doing very much scientific, considering that they are actually excluding reports that include high strangeness of, say, UFOs or paranormal activity or what have you. And I find that very, very discomforting because we're trying to bring legitimacy to this subject. But if we're eliminating evidence because it doesn't fall under a narrative, I think that's dangerous for the field. Now, I'm not here to slam the BFRO. I'm here to say that I'm disappointed with them if this is what they are doing. But for someone like yourself who has dealt in the Bigfoot community a lot longer than I ever have, okay, I find it a little bit dismal. So here's a quote, and thanks to Bugs Finds Bigfoot on this for posting this on X. George Knapp asks, the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, the big one that gets reports from all over the world, almost none of them have any details similar to this, right? I guess that they know that they'd face some scorn from the rest of their fellow Bigfoot hunters. David Paulides replies, so two people that were on the film, Joe Hauser and Tom Powell, they were in the top tier, the top 5 of BFRO years ago. And they started to do their research and they started to get these kinds of stories we're talking about. And they would submit them, and the people at the top kept throwing them out. And eventually they were kicked out of the organization for submitting reports like that. So people know on BFRO, you don't want to submit something that like that being woo, okay, because there's a good chance it's not going to go through, which in essence, since that is the largest organization, they're really controlling the flow of information on this topic. Then he goes on to say, Matt Moneymaker, BFRO founder and president since 1995, is the main figure responsible for the organization's policies of sidelining paranormal aspects of Bigfoot reports, leading a self-described scientific group. He insists on a biological flesh and blood explanation and filters out UFOs, vanishings, orbs, and other high strangeness details witnesses often include. In BFRO's vetting process under his direction, only accounts with multiple witnesses and physical evidence are prioritized. Paranormal elements are redacted or rejected to preserve credibility.
Yeah.
There's nothing scientific about this if they're editing it.
Exactly. First off, I have met a lot of people through the BFRO. Okay, so what I'm saying does not include everybody, every member. There are some members in the BFRO that are open-minded, are actually concerned about the Sasquatch, and are very good people. The predominant amount that I've met is a different story. Okay, I would not attack the entire organization because I think there are some people in there that are open-minded and they are good. But what I found with them, I keep my distance from them. Okay, they're very unrealistic. Everybody can, they come at me and they're like, well, you believe in all this woo stuff and it's not real. Okay, number one, yeah, I do. I've lived it my entire life. I have witnesses, I have photos, I have all these things. So whatever. But the thing is, these are not just flesh and blood. They are a multi-dimensional being. They are a human hybrid. It's a fact, whether anybody likes it or not. And they want to keep it down to flesh and blood. I did a conference and there was a member of the BFRO there, and he was talking about the structures. Number one, he didn't know anything about them. According to him, they're just decorative. Not that they can't be, but there's a meaning behind them. They mean something. But also, I was even given confirmation from several people in the BFRO, and I'm not going to name names, that the government uses the BFRO to try to find, locate, and hunt the Sasquatch. And they aren't hunting them because they want to, have tea with them. They want to hunt them so they can kill them or capture them or use them for experiments. Now, the BFRO is not directly the ones doing that. That is the government. But they use BFRO logs to get into it. And I had that confirmed by several BFRO members. Now, do I blame the entire organization? Absolutely not. Like I said, there are some very good people in there that I consider, very intelligent, actually know the truth about them. But because it is such a large group and they do actively go on to what they consider research areas, I don't know how they're researching it, but whatever. And they do, all these different trips where they go and they camp and they get all this interaction and stuff. So it is a very big thing that everybody goes on. Now, I know people that filed a report with them, and it was a disaster. The one gentleman lived not far from me, and he eventually got hold of me because he filed with the BFRO. They sent their big team out there. They absolutely blew up this man's whole life because they caused so much attention to it and public attention to it that it destroyed his life. It destroyed his marriage. The Sasquatch ended up getting angry at all these people flying around, and he ended up moving. He had to move. Now, I will say this, when I first I've been around these things since I was little, but it got to a point where there was so much activity, and I was like, okay, I'm by myself in this. Who do I contact? I was living in Michigan. I was probably late teens, early 20s. And I thought, I've got to talk to somebody because I'm going through this all the time. There's got to be other people. At the time, there was only two places in Michigan, BFRO and Michigan Bigfoot. For anybody living in Michigan, go to Michigan Bigfoot. Bob Daigle is the one that heads it. He is tremendous. He understands exactly all the different things that go on. And I would not be where I am if he was not as kind to me as he was. I've tried to file a report with BFRO because at that time I had a young male that had actually gotten into my house. And he was terrified. He was hungry. I mean, he was fine. Nobody got hurt. And I filed a report with them thinking, okay, I can meet like-minded people. I couldn't even get them to talk to me because they said I was, it was probably made up. Didn't matter that I had photographs, of different things that it had done in the house. It didn't matter. They weren't going to talk to me because I had too much experience in that, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. So they're very selective on what they take. And again, this is not all of them. This is just the majority. So I don't want anybody getting hurt, offended, or whatever, because there are some people in it that are very good. But they do not want to believe in anything other than flesh and blood. And okay, if that's what you want to believe in, you go right ahead. But then don't sit there and tell me that you want to know the truth. Knowing the truth means you open your mindset to the possibilities of that truth. You may not like it. You may not want to understand it, but you can't. The truth doesn't lie. It is the truth. It doesn't change over time. If they're out there doing research, I want to see that they're doing research because they're not. When we did the genome study, all those samples that we had, if there was somebody with a sample that was BFRO, it wasn't listed from the BFRO. It was an individual name. But I don't see any of them stepping up and saying, look at, you know what, I've got hair samples, I've got blood samples, I've got urine samples, all the things that we did. They don't want to know. The pretense is they are out there, they are doing research, they are a research facility, they're doing all of these things. Okay, that's great. Wonderful. I applaud you. But when the tests come back, when the reality hits, be accepting of it.
Robin Haynes, thank you for a great time on Spaced Out Radio. As we say goodnight to Robin and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocket in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Beautiful work tonight, Robin. A little bit different than what we're used to, but you did great.
It was fun. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. What I would want to do here quickly, if you have a minute or two, is I missed some questions from our audience.
Oh, sure.
All right. Jules is asking, can you please explain, or can't you explain that you need private time in places, Robin?
Can I explain it to them? They're fine. I really don't have any problems with them. If it's that kind of a situation, to begin with, I'm so used to them being out there, it doesn't faze me. Like I said, I change my clothes and stuff in the bathroom and, that kind of thing. As far as private time with the windows open, they're generally, I haven't noticed during private time that they're out there. So if they are, they're doing their own thing and I'm not paying their therapy bill for what they see. But yeah, they're usually pretty good. The only time I really get a lot of faces in the window is if I'm sleeping and I wake up, then there's a face there. You know, once in a while, earlier in the evening, if I'm watching TV, I'll hear a tap on my window and I'll look over and I might see something. Or I'll happen to look over and somebody's walking by the window. But I really haven't had a problem with them, you know, in that kind of a situation where in fact, I've never once had that happen. So, I mean, I think they're pretty respectful. They tend to, you know, it's almost like they watch over you when you're sleeping. So I feel comfortable with it. Like I said, once in a while, if I'm watching TV at night, I'll look out the window and I'll see one walking across the yard or walking across the window in front of it. But I generally, the only time I get where their faces are up, and it's funny because they'll push their windows up or their face up against the glass, and it seems to be like they're watching me sleep. Now, what in the world they get a kick out of that for, I don't know. But I think they feel safer that way. So yeah, during private times, they are pretty good about staying away. In my lifetime, I've never had that be an issue. And I have thought about that too, because I'm like, you know, there's certain times you don't want to be watched. And if I look at the window, I've never had a face in it during those times.
All right, one more question for you. And that comes from Paramarv here. There are stories of the forest people audibly speaking our language. Where and how did they learn our languages?
They actually know all language. They can speak any language that they've heard. They pick it up very quickly. I have not only mind spoke with them in our language, but I have been standing in front of them and they're verbally talking to me in their language or in our language. They, you know, obviously they have their own language, which the way they talk, it kind of sounds like gibberish, you know, to us. But wherever you live at, they pick up that language. They're highly telepathic. They can listen in on all of our conversations and they just learn it. Now, some of them may not always understand the meaning of our words. Right. And you have to go in and they'll say, what is this or what is that? And you explain it or try to get them to say it a different way so it sounds like ours. And they don't always say it correctly. But yeah, they just pick it up. And like I said, even the ones that I met when I was in Siberia, they still, when they mind speak, because I met them when I was there for the conference, and then I'm back home and they speak to me in Russian. And I'm like, guys, can't do it. And then they'll switch over to English when they mind speak. So they are very adaptable to the language.
Right on. Robin, thank you for a great night.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And we are also going to say goodnight to our audience here and thank Amy, Erica, Jules, and Matthew for the great super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Science Bob will be here for Science Bob and Friends. We're going to have a little bit of a year in UFO review here. So it'll be a good night.
Nice.
On up with Science Bob. If you haven't already, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. Okay. It helps with the algorithms. And then after this show, tell us what you thought of little Eddie Tyll or Robin or me or whatever. We want to hear from you guys. It helps with the algorithms. Much love, everybody. Robin, I'm going to throw you a kiss.
Talk to you guys later.
You take
care.
Bye-bye. Have a great night and see you tomorrow, everybody.
You too.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.